All right, we are live. So, alrighty. So we'll kind of do the same if you guys aren't talking or whatever. As long as it's, if there's any background noise, just kind of mute yourselves. Everybody knows the whole gimmicks and whatnot. And close that, and we will get into this. So, this is going to be the WitchFire Trilogy. It's a set of 3 basically overarching adventures. This should take us all the way up through level 10. I'm kind of expecting 15 to 20 sessions, give or take, kind of depending on how you go through it. You guys are going to be traveling down. This is the Iron Kingdoms. It's going to be focused on the Kingdom of Signar. You guys are going to be traveling down, kind of from the north down. All of you have been hired on as basically guards for a caravan that is headed into the port city of Corvis, which is a very central main hub city. It is built on a swamp, so over the years, this whole city kind of sinks into the swamp, and then they build on top of it with a new one, and then it starts to sink down into the swamp, and they build on top of it again, so it's just constantly building on top of the ruins that get sunk down into the swamp. It's called the City of Ghosts. There's a lot of rumors and myths around this city of the dead that, apparently haunt the underrealms or the undercity. It's got a lot of whatever, but for the most part, it's a pretty typical city, especially for ports. You got the docks, which are very sludge heavy with your pirates and trades and merchants, stuff like that. It's a very high place for priests and those who worship both Cyrus, which is the god of like engineering and mechanics and stuff like that, as well as Marrow, who's basically your all-around good god. This is kind of a central point for the both of them. It's a place, there's tons of mechanics and Warjack, steam jacks. This is like a major area where they construct and build these things for shipping out to other cities. So there will be around a lot. And like I said, all of you have been hired on to protect this caravan that's headed into the city. The man who hired you is named Gunnar Waddock, or Gunnar Waddock. He offered all of you 50 gold or 50 copper bits to travel down. He's expecting a 3-week journey into the city of Corvis. From there, he will give you your 50 copper bits, and you guys should be able to kind of find jobs from there. Let's see, Roland, you'd be obviously wanted to head there. Father Damas, who's very high ranking in your church. This is his, not his city, but his location where he's portrayed at. And he runs the Church of Marrow there. For both Eustis and Zach, both of you having your mechanical interest, engineering interest and whatnot, this is definitely a place for those who follow in the steps of Cyrus and who'd be looking for any sort of technological advancement or whatever. This is a big hub for it. As far as Leytrix goes, you're probably just traveling with the others and looking for money and, a place to kind of start building up your reputation here on this mainland that you don't particularly like, but you're stuck. So with that brief introduction out of the way, let's get into things here. Everybody's all set with everything else on your sheets? Everything's all good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I'm good to go, buddy. Sure.
All right. So I'm going to do that ever famous reading from the book here to give the opening introduction, and we will dive right in. So, you have been hired by the Caravaneers Guild to guard a caravan on the treacherous route from Felig, which is in the northern area of Signar, down to Corvis, the city of ghosts. The journey takes more than 2 weeks and passes through the dense thornwood forest and swampy lowlands. For your services, you're to be paid 50 copper bits each at the end of your journey. After chasing the rising sun for many days, the ordeal is near at an end. Corvis is only a half-day's ride away through the Widower's Wood. The trip has been without incident so far. Easy money, aye, shouts the caravan's leader, Gunnar Waddock, from his position at the front of the wagon. If only my trips to twixt Felegs and Corvis were so painless. The caravan consists of 5 wagons, each with 4 pack horses. Gunnar, the leader of the caravan, sits atop the lead wagon with his driver, a sour, quiet human called Vigo. The other 4 wagons each have 1 driver, just simple, common merchant folks. They look like they're probably hired, just as you were to drive these wagons. And the pack horses, there's 2 in the very back that are tied to the last wagon. So with that, why don't each of you kind of go through, introduce your characters, and go from there. I'll go right across the bottom of my screen, in which case, Chris, would you mind going first?
All right, so kind of walking along with the wagon, you see a younger man that looks to be about 18 years old, or 18 years young, I guess, just pushing his 20s. He is a darker skinned gentleman wearing just a kind of casual soft leather armor. He has a bald head and goggles kind of sitting on his head. He has this rather intricate and almost mechanical sword sheath beside him. You see like little gizmos and kind of gadgets on it. And behind him, almost like this giant spell case, is this device with this kind of glowing green energy swirling through it, and all these other contraptions and switches on the back of it. And he kind of wears that almost like a backpack or a bedroll near the bottom of his back. And he just kind of is looking around, and as the Gunner Wardick says that it's easy money, he says something along the lines of, "Yeah, easy, but it's never this easy. Let's not get lazy."
And what path and ancestry and stuff did you go with?
I am an adept, for what that's worth, and my path, I believe, is like I'm a time wizard kind of thing. Is that what
Yeah, basically, your path would be adept, and if you focused on time is your tradition.
Yeah. So my guy's going to be tinkering with that. It's not so much magic as it is engineering, but he has some minor manipulation of time so far.
Nice. And you're human, correct?
Correct.
All right. Awesome. So Gunnar kind of nods to you. Aye, lad. Don't worry. It's only a few hours away. We'll be just fine. Just fine. I've been through this area tons of times. Kind of gives Leytrix a nod. Says, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, my lady. Don't see many elves around here. Why don't you tell me about yourself? And you're muted, Cory, if you're talking.
There's no reason why we haven't conversed, wagon boy. I don't have much to talk to you about.
Well then. So be it. As long as you do your job,
But if you're asking, hold on, okay. But if you're asking for some big to-do, who am I? My name is Leytrix. These 2 fools over here already know me. This one here knows me. Who are you? Actually. Yeah, you're the person that none of us know.
He's kind of taken aback a little bit. He's like, well, I didn't think you had any interest, dear.
Again, I don't.
Gunner. Well then. Very well.
You know what I mean? But
he gives his reins a snap and just kind of starts to hurry away.
Yeah. But she's not interested in telling him any information besides her name.
All right.
But out of character, I'm playing a magician. Her name is Leytrix. She's a awful person. She is very loyal to both Rolan and Eustis. Is that how you say it? Eustis. Okay. And doesn't know too much about our little friend Zach, but whatever. But yeah, she practices some very interesting magic. You'll see it when it happens. That's enough.
Nice. And just for audience cases, you went with Mage? Or
She is a magician.
All right. And
she's a
right?
magician. She is an elf. About 152 years old. She's much older than all the rest of everybody combined.
Any distinguishing appearance or looks or anything?
Yeah, I mean, she's wearing black robes, but very intricate black robes. They from afar it almost looks dirty, but when you get up close, you realize that it's very ornate, like embroidery and such throughout it, and all kinds of different symbols, so on and so forth. Yeah, you know what I mean, when you get a look into her face, lighter skin, but her distinguishing feature is that she certainly has purple eyes that kind of almost do somewhere between like that thing at Spencer's with the purple light, whatever the hell that thing is, and or maybe the glitter swirly thing.
Oh, you mean like the bulb with the electrical?
The magic, yeah, the magic light thing. Maybe
Yeah,
does that. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. All right. And you kind of have a bit of an attitude towards Gunner. He just kind of shrugs, very well. Gives his reins a bit of a snap and kind of continues on. Let's see. With that, Wes, you would be next. Want to introduce your character? He's just kind of moving along beside Leytrix.
Yeah, I kind of look around here and say, don't mind her too much. She can be a bit of a wild card, we might say.
He gives a little bit of a shrug. Seems to notice that you're talking to him, so he slows down a little bit. Kind of let you catch back up to his wagon. I don't think I've heard you talk very much on this trip either. I kept to yourself most of the time. I'd be happy to pay you when we get into town. You've done a fine job. It's interesting contraption you have there. What exactly is that?
Oh, this year. And he points to a rig that looks similar to Zach's, but it's much larger and kind of takes up his whole. It's like more of a backpack than a fanny pack, and it's kind of has the energy swirling in a glass case on the back, and on his hip is kind of holstered a kind of a wand, you might say, with a hose connected to the back, and kind of a la Ghostbusters.
Sounds like Ghostbusters.
Yeah. And he says, well, this year, just a little project I'm working on, really. It's you'll see.
Well, hopefully we don't have to see it, considering it looks like some sort of gun contraption of some sort. But
oh no, this is a gun. And he pulls out like a real 6-shooter. He says, know the difference there. I'm surprised you've never seen magical technology before.
I say the steam jacks and the Warjacks and such things like that, but nothing quite like you have there. I don't really parade with such folk as yourself. Not that it's an insult or anything. I just I tend to stick to the streets and the horses and the pack wagons, and I deal in my simple wares. Kind of points over his shoulder. You can see all these wagons are laden down with like grains and flowers and foodstuffs and just simple textile wares, nothing super fancy.
Yeah, Eustis.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Eustis
And
says,
what sort of people are our kind of people?
Go ahead.
Oh no, you just hear her yelling from the back. I don't expect you to do anything with it, but yeah, she definitely heard you say that you kind of people.
Again, don't mind her. I suppose it was a blessing of the Lady Cyrus who gave me my hankering for tinkering, you might say.
Well, I'd be quite interested to see what your thing there does.
As you said, if you're lucky, you won't.
With that, he kind of looks ahead in the distance. You can see this fog kind of rolling across this ground. Should be in home to Corvis in no time at all. We'll hurry along. Here we go. Let's go. He kind of smacks his riding partner on the back, and they kind of trussle forward. Beside you, we can see that would be Roland. Yeah, so Brennen, want to introduce who Rolan is and what he looks like and such?
Rolan looks like he's mid-20s. Got shaggy brown hair. Dressed in what looks like battle robes almost. Kind of like hardened leather with robes going down to his ankles.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mason shield. You see him kind of standing protectively close to Zach, but no one's really sure why he does that. So far, he hasn't really said anything about it. He says, Marrow's gotten us through here so far. He'll get us to the city soon. And
when you say that, you can hear Gunner in the distance. Bless Marrow, and kind of throws his hand.
Yes, bless Marrow.
Bless Marrow, and it kind of chains down this caravan.
And he's going with the life and celestial traditions.
Yeah, you're a human priest, correct?
Yes, human priest.
All right. Nice. And for those watching, Marrow is sort of your god of light and divine, and basically your all-around good guy type god. And swing back over to Eustis real quick. What was your path and ancestry?
I am a human mage, and if you wanted to know what I look like James Bond in his prime, of course, Sean Connery, and I got a constant smirk and twinkle in my eye, although my eyes look a lot older than they should, as if I've seen more than the average 35-year-old.
Nice. So you got a little of those crow's feet.
Yeah, and I look over to Zach and I say, "Leash Pig, primal god."
Sorry, you totally cut out there on me.
Oh, I say, Leash pagans and their primal gods.
Yeah, who are we to judge what they believe in, though? To each their own.
Oh, that's your curious.
As you guys continue on, you can see these black twisted trees kind of join overhead in the distance, blotting out what's left of the sun. This fog continues to kind of creep across the ground. It's midday, so maybe, just after lunchtime, you guys have stopped and ate the last bits. Gunner's supplied all of the food and goods and everything you've needed for this trip, without any cost of your own. So he's, kind of sets up a basic little bowls of some sort of stew that they had crafted earlier in the morning before setting out, and gets everybody underway once again. Kind of glances around and says, within the next, say 4 hours or so, we should be making it into Corvis just fine. I believe everything's went quite well. You've done a fine job, fellows. Can't say you really need to be paid the 50 copper bits, but I promised you the money, and I'm happy to pay it. I'm just quite fortunate that we haven't had any issues. Yeah, you can hear the buzzing of the insects of the swamp as you continue to kind of make your way through. Some of these carts take a little bit of a oomph from these horses to actually get going again as they get caught in the sludge and the murk. Eventually, it starts to get soppier and soppier. This fog starts to come in a little bit more, and Gunner just kind of waves it off. He's like, it's just normal for the swamp this time of day. The water is warmer than the air this time of year. It gets a little foggy. Things are kind of overflowing a little bit. we're getting ready for the longest night. And as he says that, all of you kind of realize it is finally that time of the year. It's just towards the end of the last day of the year, which is always called the longest night before it comes back into the new year. This is it's basically like a New Year's Eve. Tons of festivals go on. Corvis is one of those places that has this huge, massive festival for the longest night as they get ready for the new year. As he kind of continues on, this fog seems to get thicker and thicker. He seems to keep waving it off if he's asked about it or whatever, but you can start to see a little bit of a stress kind of go over his face. After, just a little ways further, you can barely make out the other wagons behind you as this fog has gotten so thick. Suddenly, the lead horse lets out this huge scream, this whinny, and then you see it just collapse to the ground. Leytrix and Eustis, you guys are up towards the front, and you can see there's 3 bolts that have one's through its eyeball and there's 2 in its neck. As this thing hits the ground, it kind of whinnies about, shaking back and forth in these death throes for a few moments. Then you see a few more arrows stud into the side of the wagon. When you look off, you can't see anything in this thick fog around you. And with that, I need agility challenge rolls from everybody with 1 Bane. So I think everybody's knows the game. So basically 1d20 plus your agility minus a 1d6.
As the arrow starts sinking in before anything happens, Zach kind of looks over and smiles at Gunner and says, "Look what you got done. You jinxed it. Now we're going to have to earn this coin." And he kind of smiles as the chaos kind of ensues. He rolls a 9.
Okay.
I do critical. I rolled a natural 20.
And he rolls a natural 1.
No, I rolled an unnatural 1. I rolled a 7, then got a 6 on my boon die, and rolled a 1.
All right.
Lovely.
I got a 16 total.
All right. So those of you that failed both take 2 points of damage. I think it was Leytrix and Zach.
Yes,
so as
sir.
you see these arrows just thud into the side of this caravan all the way down through. A couple more puncture into this horse who just continues to thrash about on the ground. You see Gunnar kind of stumble back as this wagon comes to a halt, and he tips over the side, kind of smashing into the merc on the ground. Vigo tries to hold the horses as best he can with these reins. And then you feel one of these bolts kind of hit into the back of your thigh, Leytrix. The other one you feel in the back of your shoulder blade, Zach. You can see these small little shapes moving around in the fog. You can see these arrows that are coming through, though, somewhere in the distance. You can't see where they're coming from. Just considering the trajectory or whatever, it seems like they're kind of coming from the trees downward. But with that,
yeah, my perception is really high.
Yep. As you start to kind of move forward, you see these little forms start running out of the murk and out of this fog. And you see what's a total of 6 gobbers, which are swamp gobbers. Nasty little goblins. Whereas you have typical gobbers that live in the cities and stuff. They're very mechanically inclined. They're generally nice, decent anyway. The swamp gobbers are much more primitive, volatile. They just lambaste anybody who comes through their territory and steal all their stuff. But you see these 6 gobbers rush onto these wagons and start unstrapping some of the foodstuffs and trying to grab a hold of it as more arrows start to rain in. So let's do initiative first. Who would like to go fast? So just as a heads up, fast, you get 1 action. Slow, you get an action and a move.
I'm going to have to go slow.
So
I'm going to go fast.
Eustis is fast.
Roland's fast.
Roland's fast.
I'm also going to go slow.
And Leytrix is slow. All right. And with that, you guys can roll perception. You're going to have 1 Bane because of the fog. Anybody who gets a 10 or higher will notice a little bit more. But otherwise, you only see the 6 that are coming in. So Eustis and Roland, you guys are up first if you're going fast. What would you guys like to do? You can go in any order you want.
Roland, go ahead. I'm kind of dazed.
The one that's on the wagon, beam upon him.
Okay. Yeah, you see
Please,
3 of them that are unstrapping what looks to be foodstuffs. They're not really paying attention to you, so.
All right. Well, one of them's got to make a agility roll versus my will.
Alrighty. I got a 6, which I'm assuming is a failure.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I roll my will against his agility. I'm sorry.
Nope. All right. In which case, their agility is 11.
Plus 2, so 22, which that beats it by 5. So he's blinded.
Alrighty.
And he'll take. So he's blind for a round, and he'll take 5 damage.
All right. So what's it look like when you cast this spell?
I basically hold out my hand and just call out to Marrow for some power. He shoots out and hits him in the face.
Nice. You see this goblin that it hit, just, this beam of light smash into its face. It goes flying over the side of this wagon, and you can hear it splash into the murk on the other side. The other two quickly cover their eyes, trying to stop this blindness. You kind of hit all 3 of them that are right there in a group trying to undo these things, but the other 2 just kind of have their hands buried into their face, or their face buried into their hands, covering their eyes. And that means Eustis, you are up.
I draw my wand and kind of flip some switches on it and pull a trigger while pointing it at the nearest gobber. And I'm going to use my machine to mimic the effects of the spell Magic Dart.
Okay. Is this against one of the blinded ones or one of the other ones?
One of the ones who is not blinded.
Okay. And I think that's an auto hit.
Yeah, and it looks like it's... I don't have a D3. So...
do a D6 and round down.
Okay.
So 1 and a 2 is a 1, 3 and a 4 is 2, 5 and a 6 is 3.
All right, so that's a 3 plus 1 damage, so 4 damage.
What's this bolt look like? Is it like a ray of energy, or?
Well, as he extends it out, it kind of like lights up for a second and plumes, and then goes into like a really tight beam, almost like as thick as a yarn, and pierces the gobber. It's a kind of just like a natural light color.
Sweet. So when you see this hit the gobber, they don't have any kind of armor or nothing, so you just see this solid burn hole go right through its chest where its heart would be, and you can see it kind of zip out the back of this thing. It lets out a bit of a screech, kind of looking down as this blood just kind of pours from this wound, and then just kind of flops over right on the wagon where he's at. The other 2 just start screeching and frantically trying to undo the last bindings of this large bag of grain that they're trying to get a hold of. The 2 on the wagon continue just to bury their face in their hands, being blinded by Roland's light. The other 2 quickly untie what they got left of this grain. You can see they grab a hold, each one on either side of this bag of grain, and hop over the side of this wagon, starting to run away with it. Up ahead of you, Leytrix and Zach, you see another one kind of slopping forward through the muck. This one's a little bit bigger than the other ones, probably about twice the size, more your size, more human-sized. Very well built, and you recognize this as an orc. He seems to be leading these guys. In each hand, he has what looks to be just a bottom of a tree trunk that he's lumbering forward with. You can see he's moving right towards Leytrix and Zach, but he's going to go slow. And in the distance, you can hear the notching of several more arrows getting ready. So Zach and Leytrix, you guys are up.
So if it's okay with Leytrix, I'm going to go first.
I'd love to go last.
Zach kind of springs up with a smile on his face and says, well, I guess it's better earning our money this way anyways. And he's going to just make a dash right for the big guy.
Okay.
Just like, come and get it, big guy. And he just pulls out his sword and kind of does like a twirling move with his sword, with like a twirling wrist movement. And he's going to, if you let me, do a guarded attack.
Okay.
Which lets me attack with a Bane, and then next attack, or attacks versus me next round suffer Banes also.
Okay, just remind me.
Yep, I'll try. Of course, that macro didn't work, so let me just do it manually. 1d20 minus d6. Plus 15 to hit.
And yes, that's a hit.
And 5 damage as I just draw the sword across this big orc's chest. So come and get it.
You see this big wound, Grace kind of draw across the line on its chest. Lets out a bit of a roar, puffs up his chest a little bit, bringing up these two clubs, getting ready to move towards you. Leytrix, you are up.
Okay, so I'd like to. So we were on the wagon, right?
Yes.
That's where I got hit with the arrows. Okay. I'd like to jump down off of the wagon on the side. They're shooting us from one direction, right? They're not shooting from both directions.
Kind of to the northeast. Yep.
Okay. So that I get covered from there, and then I want to pull the arrows out of my body. And then I'll take an action next turn. That's what I want to do, though.
Okay.
I want to tend to myself before I tend to them.
All right. So you can drop down. You kind of put your back up to the wagon. Being that everything seems to be coming from that direction, you're pretty much completely covered by the wagon at the moment. So you can't even be targeted unless you pop up for anything.
Yeah.
And with that, it's the end of the round. So these things are going to go. I'll do the orc first on you.
That's with a bane.
Good call. In which case I got a 16 because I didn't have that. So I don't know what your defense is.
14. So it's.
And damage is only 1. So it just kind of comes around, just kind of barely graces across your shoulder with a bit of its club. Lets out a bit of a roar and starts to jump, kind of march forward towards you a little more, pushing into you.
He spins out of the way and is like, you gotta do better than that.
And with that, let's see. You see 3 more arrows come out of this fog. 3 of them thudding into Vigo, the guy who was up in the seat trying to get these horses to start moving a little bit. One is kind of up in the shoulder, and then one down into his thigh. You see it completely tear through his thigh and bury into the wood below him, kind of pinning him into the seat. Another one comes through just barely, gracing across Gunner's back, open just a tiny little scratch. He lets out a bit of a yell and jumps up, kind of crab walking backwards underneath the wagon to try and get some cover. Looking at you guys to do your job. And let's see, there's 3, so I'm going to make, this one is going to be on you, Roland. 12, which I think is a miss. And these 2 are going to be on Eustis. So that's a 24, so yes. And a 24, so yes. So Eustis, 7 points of damage. You just see 3 arrows just thud. One into your shoulder, another one into your shoulder, one kind of burying itself through your foot and into the murk. And that's the end of the round. So as this kind of comes to a close on this round, you can see these 2 gobbers that are continue on this wagon who Roland blinded, trying to rub their eyes, trying to see once again, not really doing much more. The other 2 are trying to scurry away into the murk, carrying this big sack of grains. And you see this large orc that's in front of Zach swinging away with his clubs. You know that there's probably 3 or 4 more of these things out in the fog somewhere up in the trees, but you can't see them. So who would like to go fast?
Roland's gonna go slow this time. Well, is there a gobber right in front of me?
Yep, there's 2 on the cart right beside you on the wagon that are blinded.
Okay, I'm gonna go slow then. I mean fast then.
Okay.
Slow for me.
Slow for Zach. Okay.
I will go fast.
Fast for Eustis. And Leytrix. What was that?
He's muted.
Yeah. Oh, I can't see the mute sign on it because it was fast. All right. So Roland, Eustis, and Leytrix, you guys are up.
You said there's how many goblins on the cart right now?
2 that are blinded and 2 that are running away with a sack of grains.
Okay, I'm gonna go to. I want to run up fast. Am I close to it? Like enough to interact with it?
Yep.
Okay, so I want to like grab one of the blinded ones, like from behind, and put him into like a headlock. And if I can, I want to like wrestle him down and under the wagon. I want to make sure that someone survives this, so that way I can interrogate him. And So I just grab him. I'm like, come here, and I'm just gonna like kind of wrestling move and roll under the wagon into the mud.
Give me a strength challenge roll. It's going to be against his strength, which is a 9.
Okay, mine's
he's blinded, so you can get a boon on top of it. So it'd be 1d20 plus your strength modifier plus 1d6.
7.
Plus, is that with everything?
You said plus 6?
Yep, 1d20 plus whatever your strength modifier is plus a 1d6.
Yeah, that's a 6. I have a 0 on my strength modifier, and I rolled a 4 on my d20. Right. So I tried.
So you try to grab a hold of him. He just kind of snakes out of his way. He's not real strong, but you can see these things are covered in grime. They're kind of nasty smelling, slimy. A lot greasier than you thought. It's kind of like trying to wrestle, back in the days when you used to wrestle those greased pigs, and you're not able to get a hold of this little bastard. As he slips out of his way, starts to kind of crawl across this wagon to pull himself away. You can see he's completely disoriented, though, as he's still blinded. So Rolan and Leytrix, you guys are still up this round.
Rolan will shoot one of the ones running away with another burning beam. And he whispered to himself, may Marrow guide me.
And it's against their agility, which is an 11.
I got a 9. That misses.
All right. So your beam just kind of shoots. You can see that it smashes into this grain sack that they're carrying. It just blows apart, and bits of oatmeal and wheat and everything just kind of starts to cut, kind of cascade around these things of flour and stuff, covering them in this bits. They let out a yelp and just continue hauling ass into the swamp, trying to get away, leaving a trail of oats and grains behind them. And Leytrix, you are up.
Mm-hmm. What is their range from us?
The two that are in the cart near you are about 10, 15 feet away. The two running away are about 30, short range, 30 feet or so. And then the ones in the trees, you have no clue where, you know where they're bow, but you don't know where they're coming from.
All right. So I climb under the wagon. Okay. So I get a good vantage point so I can see the, everything that's going on. And I cast harm onto one of the guys that are closest to me because it has to be within a short range.
All right. There'd be two on the wagon beside you, and you can see Zach as he's combating this orc, maybe 15, 20 feet in front of you. Any one of those would be within range.
All right. I don't want to go up against the orc because I'm not severely strong because it's against strength. I will go up against one of the little dudes. I don't care which one it is.
Alrighty, so I'm not sure. Do I have to roll or do you? What's it for?
It is make an intellect attack roll against its strength.
All right, which is a 9.
A 9. So then I roll an intellect attack roll.
Yep. So intellect plus whatever the modifier is.
That's 2. Yeah. No, I'm gonna use my thing. Yeah. I don't get any of those. That's an area there. It's a 10.
Yep, that's a hit. And what's it do for damage?
And it's a minus. It's a -5 to their damage for the next minute.
-5 to health, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right. In which case, that's going to kill it. So, what does it look like when you cast this ability, or what's it do to them?
So, you see, Leytrix kind of crawl underneath the wagon a bit. So she gets a good vantage point, and she sees her victim. It's a little goblinoid that is just over on the wagon. And she just says a few words in a language that none of you have ever heard before, except for her speak it. And it sounds awful, though. Very guttural. And you can see the goblinoid start looking at its abdomen. And it's making awful noises. like it's being ripped apart from the inside out because it is. And it says, yeah, like small barbs are tearing at its insides, and it will drop all of its organs.
Nice. So as you do this, right beside you is Gunnar, as he kind of crab walked underneath this thing too to try and get away. He kind of looks over at you when you first crawl under there, almost as if, you know, you're not out there doing your job. But when you speak these words and stuff, you can see this confused look, and then it kind of turns to horror when he sees what you've done to this goblin. His eyes kind of widen up, and he kind of backs up away from you as well. And you can see that he has this almost a feared look on his face as he stares at you. And he's just kind of shaking his head, and he's kind of putting up his fingers, sort of like this triangle sort of shape like this towards you as he backs up a little bit. And let's see, none of these guys.
And right at the end of my turn, I look at him, and a little bit of black mist comes out of my mouth, and I go, I get paid every time because I'm good at what I do.
He just kind of nods frantically. You can see that he's completely scared of what you've done, pretty much. And the orc is going to go fast, so he's going to take his attack on you, Zach, before you go. That's a 20, so damage is just a 1 again. So again, as he kind of comes on, as you dart back and forth with him, he clips you just barely on the shoulder once again with his club. Lets out this bit of voice, like, come here. He's trying to get a hold of you. And Zach, you are up.
I look at him and I'm saying, I'm ready for any. And then as I look around, Rolan has taken some damage, but that's from archers, right? There's no one directly on him?
Correct, yeah.
All right.
No, Rolan didn't take the damage.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I thought you did.
Oh, no, yeah, he didn't take it.
In that case, then, what I am going to do is a unbalancing attack. I'm pretty sure I can do all this, right?
Yeah, if it's on you, yep.
Yep. So what that is an attack with a bane, and if I hit, then he has to make an agility check or fall prone. So that is a, let's see here, 19 minus 3 to hit.
Yep.
So
defense is a 12, so yep. And I need to make a agility.
Yep. A agility check. It doesn't say what your DC is or the equivalent. I guess
it's
that's
10. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 19, so that's a success on the agility part.
So either way, I kind of like feint in and make him lunge forward, in which place I drop my sword into like his kneecap and kind of drag it across, and then go to kick it out and knock him over. But he's so strong and like big that I can't actually kick him over.
You hear this slicing of his skin behind his kneecap and stuff. What's the damage?
5.
Yeah, he kind of stumbles forward a little bit, just barely catching himself in a tree. Drops this one club that he's holding, kind of grabs the tree trunk itself, kind of holds himself up and snaps his head. Lets out this growl as he gets ready to move forward again. Let's see, I got 4 archers. So in that case, I'm going to have 2 archers on you since you're hurting their boss guy. Let's see, a 13 and a 5. Both misses.
Correct.
All right, so 1 on Eustis, which is a 16. I think that's a hit.
Yeah, that hits. Against defense, right?
Yep. And another 1 for damage. I like them ones tonight. And they can't see Leytrix under there, so I guess the other one will be on you, Roland, which is a whole whopping 4. So that's a miss too. In which case, that's the end of the round. Beginning of the new round. I'm going to use this orc's ability to go before everybody as he kind of just charges forward at you, Zach.
Bring it on.
Let's see, that's an 18. I need a strength challenge roll from you, though.
Just kidding. 13.
It's going to be a success, so you're only going to do damage, which is going to be
1.
A 1. So you can see he just charges forward, pretty much putting his whole weight behind his. He pretty much chokes up on this thing like a baseball swing, and swings it forward.
I match it with my sword and like kind of like have that engaged sword on weapon combat, but he pushes me back enough to hurt me a little bit.
Someone's like me, just kind of pushes you up against the tree a little hard or something. In which case, who would like to go fast?
I'll go fast.
Zach is fast.
Yeah, I'm all about going fast. I want to go really fast.
I will go slow.
And let's see, Eustis is slow.
Rolan will go slow.
Alrighty. So Zach and Leytrix, you guys are fast. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I want to go first.
You go first.
All right. I am going to use a very, 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 very awesome spell. It is called Hateful Defecation. And here it goes. And we're gonna use that on a big guy.
Alrighty.
So target. What is the target's health 10 or less?
He is at 9, so yes.
He instantly dies.
Go ahead and describe how that goes, because that's just wonderful.
Yes. So the target's guts twist and rumble noisily. It also kind of looks at its stomach, but it looks much more violent around his stomach region than it did around the little goblin that we saw the first time, and blood streams and also feces from all of his orifices, and he kind of explodes.
So in front of you, Zach, you can see.
Can I use my triggered action to jump out of the way?
Yeah, you see his stomach rumble and stuff. And then just vomiting up feces, bile, blood. It pours out of his ears, his nose, his eyes, and then the whole thing just explodes apart. And yeah, if you want to use your triggered actions and most certainly jump out of the way, you can.
Yeah, I'm just like, uh-oh, and then I just kind of like roll back and watch him explode.
Yeah, nice. And
quite the shitty way to go.
Well, it's not like it's the first time you see me do that to somebody.
Yeah, Zach's seen this coming. He knew.
It never gets easier to see.
You can hear as everybody looks over at this orc expelling his insides and stuff. You hear the screeching of more goblins, and you see those two that were blinded grabbing a hold of another sack and start hauling ass with it, trying to get away. More arrows start raining down, trying to cover their path. And with that, Zach, you still have your action. So what would you like to do? The only two that you can see are these two with the sack of flour that they're trying to run away with, which are about 20 feet away from you. So
that's moving range for me then, or no? All right.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to take an action unless you want to go slow.
Oh yeah, I said I was gonna go slow, right? Okay. Actually, yeah, I guess I will pull a string at the back of my pack where this device is, and it's basically like pulling a ripcord kind of thing. And I rip it, and you start to see this gear start spinning, and the energy starts to surge behind me. You see this green glow, and from there's like a wire that kind of connects to my sword. And from it shoots out this kind of ball of green energy. And what I literally do is wind up like a baseball bat and hit the energy. And it kind of springs forward, and up to 5 creatures, but since only 2 are medium range, have to make a will challenge roll. And if they fail, they become really slow.
Boy, actually, have to make me look up will. 9, so -1. And I got a 3, so that's a 2, so that's a total another failure. So they have to go slow. Is that what it was that slows them?
Slows them for a minute, whatever that means.
All right. So you see them running, and then they just slowly, almost as if they're caught in complete slow motion as they're slowly starting to move forward. And with that, they're just trying to run away, so they're done. In which case, we put it over to Eustis and Roland. You see these 2 goblins carrying the sack of flour, all of a sudden just completely slow right down as they're hit by this light that was thrown from Zach.
Now, are they the only enemies left?
There's more out in the fog somewhere that are kind of shooting arrows around them, trying to cover their runaway, but you don't know where they are. But they're the only two within range that you see, yes.
Okay, and so these guys within range, how are they in between us and the unseen enemies?
Yes.
Okay, I want to use my last casting of I want to use my last casting of Magic Dart. And I want to shoot a laser through the flour sack to create a wall of flour smoke. So that way they have trouble hitting us, or they can't see us at all. Does that make sense?
Yep. You don't need to roll anything then. So yeah, you just see this grain of flour that they're kind of double shoulder and trying to get out of there explode into pieces. It's just this wall of white kind of rains down around. You see what's left of these little goblins, almost like ghosts. You can just see the whites of their eyes peering through this sheet of flour as they haul ass trying to get away from you guys into the swamp. The fog itself slowly seems to start dying down. You see a few more arrows smash into the ground around you, and then you can hear these things in the distance yelling and kind of making all sorts of sort of obnoxious and taunting you a little bit, but it seems to be fading away as if they're running away into the distance.
I say to the group, form up on our boss, boys.
You see Roland, or I'm sorry, not Roland, Gunnar, kind of crab walk out from underneath that thing. He kind of rubs his shoulder where that spear hit him, and kind of touching up his wound a little bit, and he wraps a bit of a cloth around it, tightening it up. He completely avoids you, Leytrix. He doesn't even look at you at this point. But he kind of hurries over next to Roland, knowing that this man is also a follower of Marrow. He gives you a bit of a clap on the back. He says, fine job, young man, young lad. I didn't even see the beast coming. Up ahead, where you are at Leytrix and Eustis, you can see this fog, and actually Zach's up there too, slowly start to dissipate. And maybe like 20, 30 feet up in front of you, you see this weird contraption. Almost looks like the bellows for like a flame bellows, or like a blacksmith would use that they kind of pump, laying on the ground, connected to what's this strange little bucket type thing. You can see bits of fog kind of coming out of the nozzle.
Who got hurt with this? Who got shot up with all the arrows?
Eustis.
I got hit several times.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna walk up to Eustis and do my share recovery, so you can heal up to your healing rate with it.
So do I take that off of damage?
Right. So
my damage was 8 total.
Yep. So then it goes back down, whatever your healing rate is, 2, 3.
So it would be damage 5 now, right?
Yep.
Okay. And what happens when damage meets temporary health?
That is when you fall unconscious.
Okay.
And it never goes above it. Like if you were at 13 and you take 5 damage and you would fall unconscious at 14, just stop at 14. You don't have to go above.
I'd say.
okay. So we should count up to our maximum health on this one.
Up to your temporary. Your maximum health is your number that never changes. That's just what your health should be. Your temporary health is what it's currently. And then your damage counts up to your temporary health. The max one is just a point to never, so you don't forget what your max is if it gets manipulated. Like your spell harm, or hey, in that case, it would. That way you don't have to change your max health and you don't forget what it was in the case of you got hit by a harm. So you would lower your temporary health down.
Right.
And then when you're damaged, you meet your temporary health is when you fall unconscious. Go ahead, Eustis. You were saying something?
Yes. Like your brother Roland, I'm sorry I ever doubted your God.
Oh, it's fine. I'm here to, spread the faith.
See, Gunnar kind of wipe his head, double check his wound a little bit. Oh, they only got away with a few sacks of flour. That's going to cost all of you just a single copper bit, but you've done a fine job, so perhaps we could call it even, and I won't take it out of your pay. And he kind of gives Leytrix this stare for a moment as he's next to Roland. Kind of looks up at the cleric and says, "What kind of witch are you traveling with?"
Witch.
You may be a little witchy, but she is she's been a fine companion.
I've seen magics like that in the olden days when the witches were executed in Corvis. I trust you know what you're doing, sir. I wouldn't recommend.
Marrow will always do this.
Zach would walk up kind of smiling and walking with a wide stance and just kind of say, well, she's not the most pleasurable company. When she's not hiding under a wagon, she's making people shit themselves, but she knows what she's doing. She gets the job done.
Indeed she does.
I'll kind of, walk up to our boss man, kind of like say a little prayer with him. Get him to calm his nerves.
See, he's sweating pretty badly. You can see these wet pits under his arms and stuff.
Relax. It's over.
Yes. We get a move on, shall we? Sir Roland, perhaps you can keep the witch back here with you. I fear she will frighten Vigo. He's a supernatural fellow. He gets upset easily. With that, he kind of hustles forward, get back up in the seat. Vigo looks to be wounded pretty badly from this. As you guys finally notice him for the moment, this one arrow into his shoulders pinned him back to the seat, one through his foot. And his gunner gets up there. He kind of realizes this man was hurt pretty bad. He kind of rushes over, trying to break these arrows free and kind of revive his buddy, smacking him in the face a little bit. He's like, priest, can you help my friend? Please, priest. He's kind of yelling down.
I'll rush over and give him my healing potion I have.
He looks at this thing and, quickly dumps it on some of these wounds and kind of forces it down this man's throat, smacking him on the face a little bit. See Vigo kind of cough and open his eyes a little bit and look around this very pallid colored face and stuff. Kind of loose for a minute, and then you see that he kind of flops back unconscious, but he seems to be breathing okay.
I'll stay with him and minister his wounds while we're traveling.
With that, you see Gunnar hop down, unlashing this horse that has, been wiped out by the arrows. There's probably a good dozen arrows in this thing at this point. And you, and he kind of points over to Zach and Eustis, completely ignoring Leytrix. Help me move this horse out of the way so we can get going. We got to get it off the path. And he begins trying to push this beast off the path a little bit so the wagons can get moving once again.
Yeah, before we go over there, Zach looks to Leytrix, who's climbing out from the wagon and probably like brushing herself off or something, and he just kind of looks at her with letting out a little bit of a sigh and kind of smiles and is like, "Really, Leytrix? You had to do the shit explosion."
Yeah,
I had that guy.
Storm now, didn't you?
I had that guy, and we've already told you that the people around these parts aren't going to be as accepting of you as we are. So you might want to tone that down a bit once we get to Corvis. I know you know what you're doing, but not everyone will be as patient with you as we are. And he kind of helps you up, and that's out. Like, he's not like necessarily trying to be a dick to you, although.
I stand next to you, and to clarify, I say, you may be young, but he's got some wise words. You should listen to him, Leytrix.
And then I'll just like say again, like I had that orc. You didn't need to do that, but I appreciate it anyways, I guess. And then I'd walk over and help with the horse.
What does Leytrix do during all this?
She just when Eustis said that to her, she just jaw dropped. Like, Eustis is like her best friend right now. So like, really? What's with this guy right now?
I look at you for a second. I say, Zach's starting to walk away, and I say, something bothering you, Mister?
You think he has wise words?
Well, he certainly knows what he's talking about. Folks around here won't take kindly to a witch.
Do you think I'm a witch, Eustis?
No, I don't think you're a witch. He just kind of starts to blush a little bit because he's friends with her, but he's still a little scared of her from time to time. And he says, "Well, I don't think you're a witch. I know that folks around here are going to see you that way, and I don't want that for you. For you."
It's very considerate, Eustis.
That's what friends are for.
Thank you. And it's one of the handful of times that she's ever said something as so nice as to compliment you.
Yeah, he does the single pat on the shoulder. Kind of does the samurai high five with a and turns and goes to help the other men.
Between the three of you, you're able to kind of shove this horse off to the side the best you can. It takes quite a bit of work. You're all covered in sweat by a ton of this. You can feel the temperature rising. It's basically kind of a subtropical area, much like Florida per se. So even though it's at the end of the year and it's winter, it's still, pretty humid. And being in this swamp, it's quite humid and sweaty nastiness. Finally able to kind of shove this thing off to the side. You are going to waste no time hopping up in his wagon and giving these things a snap to try and get the hell out of there. Every now and then glancing over his shoulder towards Leytrix. And behind them, you can see the other caravans kind of pick up and start moving forward as these other drivers come out from behind the wagons where they're taking refuge and get moving. Kind of leaving the the four of you standing towards the end as they start to move down. Well, actually three, because Roland is up in the front seat helping Vigo keep him stabilized.
So, Eustis, what do you make of those swamp gobbers? It seems a little bit weird that they would just come for 2 bags of flour and leave.
Indeed, I'm intrigued by their contraption they seem to rig together. Usually the gobbers of the swamps don't have such prowess with mechanical engineering.
Yeah, that fog machine was definitely took us.
Still on the ground, yeah.
Could we? Is it huge or is it smaller?
It's decent size, but you can pick it up easy. It's like a big, basically it's made out of a blacksmith's bellows. Yep.
Okay, can we inspect it?
Yeah. So you kind of go over this thing, start looking at it between Eustis and Zach and the both of you. Looks like it's pretty primitive in design. You guys do know that gobbers are fairly mechanically inclined, but it's still covered together kind of half-assedly. But you have the typical bellows, and it's just a hose running from that into what looks to be almost like a sealed bucket, and you can hear some stuff sloshing around in there. And if anybody happens to press on these bellows, you just see this big puff of fog kind of come out. The more you press it, the more fog starts billowing out.
I pick it up and I say, "This might come in handy."
Indeed, anything to give us cover.
I throw it into the back of the wagon.
Just make a note on your sheet. It's a fog bellow contraption, whatever you want to call it. So you can see up ahead.
I call it rock concert step 1.
Up ahead, you can see Gunnar, Roland, and Vigo kind of turn the corner, starting to head out of the swamp. This line of the other wagons behind them moving ahead. As you guys kind of mosey on down the path behind, keeping a close eye out or whatever, you can see that all this fog that was starting to roll in really was from this contraption. Once it's dissipated, the whole area around you is pretty clear for the most part. Every now and then you can see some small lizards and other things kind of scatter across the path and through the swamp area, but otherwise nothing goes on for the next couple of hours. You guys make your way. Finally, at last, you're free from this swampy morass of the Widower's Wood. The black twisted trees part, and the ever-present mist finally thins and clears. Ahead of you, you see the city of Corvis, the city of ghosts. A stout wall surrounds what seems to be an impossibly dense mass of stone structures with bridges of ropes and woods cast between them. You can see these huge spires of granite and marble, some topped with gold embellishments, bursting through the fog and the smoke and the pollution that hangs at street level. A tangle of bridges and archways ensnares everything in a stony grasp. After so long in the woods, it's an impressive sight. It's up to you guys whether any of you have ever been here. Leytrix, probably you haven't. So this would probably be completely alien to what you're used to from your Elven, much more architecturally beautiful. This is definitely like a piece of shit to you as far as you're concerned. But for the rest of you, it does look pretty impressive. And you can smell...
Region? What's this region called?
The city is called Corvis.
Oh, so this is where we're seeing Corvis. Okay.
Yep, this is the Port of Corvis. Let's see. Once you're able to kind of get over this initial grandeur of seeing this place, you can see as you get a little bit closer how run down and kind of nasty it really is. You can see the stone wall that surrounds it is filled with cracks and holes, parts of it starting to crumble. It's all at different angles as a lot of it has sunk down into the swamp, and you can see just new stone just keep being piled on top of it as it continues to sink down. It's covered in soot and stains of blood, soot, dirt, and grime. The buildings, as you start to move into the city, you walk through this huge gate area. A couple guards give you a little bit of a nod as you move in. And up ahead, Roland, you immediately spot the Church of Marrow, this great, big, huge stone structure, much cleaner than everything else, although it still looks to be in a bit of disrepair. You see Gunnar nod, look at you, and we got to see Father Damas. He can help Vigo, I thank you very much for your duties, young man. But the father is very skilled in this. He'll help us, and he gives the reins a bit of a snap and kind of picks the pace up, and he waves the other caravans behind us. We have some good stuff drop off to him as well. Let's go to the father first, and then I'll pay you once we get stationed.
You see Rolan kind of tug on his wicker basket. Has got a dead mummified halfling on the inside of it. Yes, I need to deliver this to him as well.
He kind of looks over and says, what do you got delivering for him, young man? Is that something church deigned? I'm curious in the teachings of Marrow.
This is the body of Saint Abelard. I found him on my journeys. We thought he was lost for centuries.
Saint Abelard. I've heard the stories of the saint. Amazing little fellow that he was. That's man. He just seems completely flabbergasted and amazed, that you have this thing. Can I have a look? Can I have a look?
All right, I take off the shroud, just covering it, and kind of let him see.
He seems, really excited as you get ready to do this. As soon as you kind of undo that thing, he's more kind of taking a gas, kind of stumbles back and falls off the edge of this wagon once again, kind of smattering onto the ground and picks himself up. He's like, yes. He kind of straightens up his clothes a little bit and climbs back. You can put that thing away, youngster. I didn't realize he quite looked that way. My apologies. Kind of straightens himself up the best and gives the reins a little more snap, pick up the pace a little more. The rest of you, come along, bless Marrow. As he kind of heads into this church area. Those of you walking behind, are you following along with the progression here?
Yeah. And I kind of turn to Zach and I say, interesting. Like they literally carry around their dead instead of looking toward the future. It's interesting indeed.
Yeah, he's kind of rubbing his head, and he's like, "Yeah, that maybe he's been spending a little bit too much time with Leytrix. That's a little bit of a weird one carrying around that mummified halfling."
I say, what should we go find a church of shearers?
Yeah, that sounds. I've been interesting to learn more about him. And as he's like looking around, you can tell that his eyes are just widen, and he's like looking up. And these buildings are particularly tall, I imagine. And he's just looking up, like almost like he's being swallowed or fallen into a tunnel. And he's just like, it's amazing how something can be so beautiful yet absolutely disgusting at the same time. I've never seen anything like this before.
Indeed, you'll find that most women are the same way. And, I kind of point towards the center of town and I say, well, you see, once we find a church, you'll find that the churches of the Lady Shearish are more museums, you see, workshops, places where we worship through the creation of our own.
Yes, I look forward to meeting those people. I'm sure there's a lot of intelligence people like yourself that have so much to teach if you're just willing to learn.
Indeed.
And then I would look to Rolan and be like, Rolan, do you mind if me and Eustis, we go on ahead and let you handle this stuff with Marrow and your commanding priests? You don't mind, do you?
No, go and worship.
We should probably bring Leytrix too. In hindsight, I don't know how much. She needs to see the city a bit, and he'd kind of walk up to her and hopefully, like, kind of put his arm around her and be like, "Come on, Leytrix, we'll go show you Cyrus and Cyrus." And I don't think Marrow is your kind of thing.
Yeah. No interest in the churches. No interest.
I say, but before we go, I believe we're due payment. And I make my way to the boss man. What's his name?
Gunner.
Gunner. Yeah. I make my way to Gunner, and I say, well, we've got where we're going. Now I must get what I'm getting.
Oh, yes. Give me one moment, my fine son. As the kind of progression moves, you see he kind of moves to this large gate. He says, let's park the wagons up here now. This is the back wagon. I'll get out everything. You've done a fine job. If you will, though, perhaps I can give you the coins for your he kind of stares at Leytrix. Your friend. I don't wish to touch fingers with her.
She doesn't bite. Not often, at least.
Yes. I've seen what she can do. I've heard of curses following such things, and the elves, they're not untrusting lot.
He kind of smiles. Sorry to cut you off. And he says, "You've seen what he can do, or she can do. You might want to be a little more understanding, so that she wouldn't do something like that to you.
Yes, indeed, Zach. I was just about to say the same thing. Perhaps you should
and I can't,
lest you end up like the last victim." Just kind of messing with his head.
Go ahead, Leytrix.
And I can't hear you.
With that, his head kind of snaps around. He stares at you a little bit wide, and he's just like kind of putting up this little triangle thing towards you again, kind of backing up a little bit.
I don't know what this triangle crap is, but if you're going to pay me, you're going to pay me and not one of my lackeys.
With that, he kind of...
Zach laughs at lackeys. Like, yeah, lackeys.
Sure. See this wagon progression kind of come to a stop in front of this Church of Marrow. A great big cathedral, very Victorian sort of design to it, and the big archways. You can see like the gargoyles up on the piers and stuff like that. Typical old style cathedral. You see this old man kind of standing out front who starts to make his way towards the caravan, towards the front here where Vigo and Gunnar are. Gunnar looks over at Roland, almost looking for like advice, and you can see his eyes snap over to Leytrix and at Roland. He says, "Will I get diseased if I touch the lady?"
No, you won't get diseased.
See, he's kind of battling with this in his head for the moment. He hops down, kind of waves for the father to come over, and kind of pointing towards Vigo in the seat. The man's still unconscious, but you seem to have him stabilized for the moment. Roland, the old man, kind of makes his way towards you. You recognize Father Damas of this church almost instantly. Fairly tall fellow, not too badly built for an older man, white hair. Actually, I believe I have a picture of him. Let me double check real quick. Yeah, right there. So he's definitely older, probably up in his upper 70s, early 80s. He wears the typical robes. People who follow Marrow, the actual priests, are they live off of what they have. They make their own stuff. They live off the land. They don't believe in purchasing or supplying themselves stuff. So they're very, very simple people. So you see this old man kind of makes forward. You can see his clothes are all stitched up together, just bits of rope and leather binding his clothing closed. Very, very simple sort of man. He gives you a bit of a nod towards you as he comes in, Roland, kind of doing this. Oops, let me stop that. Sort of stopping just long enough, and he puts this little triangle thing towards his forehead and gives you a bit of a nod in the typical symbol of Marrow. Assumably, you'd probably do the same. It's just a normal gesture as he moves forward.
Yeah.
And he begins looking over this man. You can see he touches his hands to his chest, this soft sort of blue glow washing over this man, the wounds almost stitching in front of you, just leaving pink scars on his body. With that, another little helper hurries over and picks up Vigo and kind of carries him into this cathedral. While that's going on, you see Gunnar move to the back. He keeps a wide berth from you, Leytrix, and he begins kind of rustling around in this pack. Counts out a few little piles and puts each set of coins into this pouch. He hurries over, dropping one in your hand, Zach, another one for you, Eustis, kind of hurrying up towards the front of the wagon, giving you one, Roland. And then he just stares at you for a few moments, Leytrix. And then he kind of begins mumbling. He kind of does this little symbol to himself and towards you, and straightens his clothes up and very gingerly walks towards you, kind of holding this thing out as far as he can, just by the strings for you to take.
Yeah, and I'm doing the like, you know, the finger towards me thing. You know what I mean?
A little closer.
Yeah, a little closer. And if he's not looking, did he put his hand over his eyes? You said? Is that what you said?
No, just to his forehead. So he has this triangle symbol, and he just kind of nods, mumbling like a prayer to himself.
And I rather quickly move right up next to him, and I put my hand on the triangle. And with the opposite hand, I take the bag, and I give him a kiss on the cheek, and I turn her, I kind of spoon move around away from him, and then walk over to where the guys are.
As soon as your lips brush his cheek, he just lets out this yelp. You can see his short little squat form just hauling ass back towards Roland. This fear, just his entire face has went pallid. Yeah, went pale. There we go. Went pale, and he's just kind of hurrying his way as fast as he can to get back up to Father Damas. You see this old man, you know, kind of watch as they take Vigo in. And he turns around, having a few words with Gunnar. With that, he kind of looks over at you, Roland, as, you know, he speaks with Gunnar, and then over at Leytrix, a bit of a frown on his face, and then to Zach and Eustis. He nods, kind of saying something as he kind of moves forward. Young man, please, can I have a word with all of you? You too, my lady, you too. It'll only take a moment of your time, and you may go peruse the city. I'm sure you have better things to do than converse with an old man like myself, but I just have a few words, if I may.
Well, you're right. We do have better things to do. What do you want, old man?
You're also right that you're old.
Very, very old. I've had many years. Getting along in age.
Whatever.
But one such as yourself, I'm glad to see you. You probably have wisdom beyond my years. But to get to the point, and he doesn't really seem too concerned as he speaks to you, Leytrix. Whether or not Gunnar told him who you are or what you are, he doesn't seem really any intimidated. Kind of seems to treat you just like the others. He does offer Roland, you know, that nod with the triangle thing again. And says, Gunnar told me of your abilities. You did very well in protecting these caravans. Perhaps a lot of you would do me a favor. I don't have much money. The church is fairly poor in these areas, and we don't collect much monies, but I can give you some payment. It's a simple endeavor. I've had a few complaints. Maybe you could look into as you peruse the city. I'd be happy to pay you for your services. And sonful Roland, perhaps you could do it as a favor to the church.
Of course, Father. I have a gift for you before we go any further.
A gift? I can't accept gifts. You know the church guidelines.
The saint off my back and show it to him.
Well, this is... what was the halfling's name again?
me find a full name.
I should have typed that into chat. I'll type it right into chat once you find it. What was it?
For the chat.
Oh, cool. Adelard. Okay. So, where did you find this young man? His body's been missing for it must be onward of a good 54 years now.
It was in an overgrown tomb. Marrow showed me a vision and led me to it. And I've been carrying him for months on my back now.
Right. Marrow must have blessed you. Gunnar told me of your friend, but if our patron blessed you to find such a treasure, then he must look favorably upon the elf. Perhaps the merchant was mistaken. We will place the body in the tombs below. Give Adelard a proper burial. I can't thank you enough, sonful Roland. This is amazing, young man. I will speak words of your honor to the church at next service.
Thank you, Father.
What about the rest of you? Would you mind doing an old man in a fine church a few favors, perhaps during your stay? It's not much. I could offer my pay. I'm just looking into a bit of a grave robbery that's been happening here on the church. And Gunnar told me your abilities. The police here, they think there's better things to do than to help the church.
Well, they aren't wrong.
Yeah.
If you're a friend of Roland, then you're a friend of mine, Father. And he tried to like imitate the triangle to the forehead, probably mess it up in some way and bow, and say that yeah, absolutely, the pay is not a big deal. Pay what you can, but we'll help you as much as you can.
Jack, we've got better things to do.
Yes,
I see your fanny pack. You look like a technological engineer. Do you have interest in the churches of Cyrus?
I have interest, but I accept any man's view of God. Who am I to say which God is more important?
That's a reasonable answer, young man. But if it makes of any interest, one of these graves was actually a high priestess of Cyrus. Whatever you find, and you can take it upon yourselves. I don't ask questions and don't ask for answers, but perhaps you could, help your own churches and your own interests. Scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, sort of thing.
I don't need much convincing, Father. I'm more than happy to help out. These guys can do what they want, but if you have problems, then me and Roland share those problems and we'll help out.
So you think that these grave robbers, they're targeting more than just your church?
Well, I have reason to believe that could be the case, but we will serve this as a discussion, perhaps this evening. As the father of the church, I must offer free room and board to visitors. 6 o'clock sharp, there's a feast on the table, and you're welcome to join me for dinner. After evening celebrations and stay for the evenings off, fresh beds and linens, showers, we have running water. But until then, you explore the city, please. Be on your way. I don't want to hold you up. And Mistress Elf, if you would care to aid an old man, I know you have your own patrons that you follow. I wish I could offer more, but that's completely up to you. I would understand, but it would be my honor to have you stay for the evenings as well.
That sounds agreeable. I'm not sure what you want me to accompany you to do.
She's not that kind of father.
It's just No, not myself. But I mean, if you care to help me in this problems that I have, maybe just join your compatriots here in searching a bit of information for me. But please don't let me hold you up. I will speak to you after dinner. 6 o'clock sharp. 6 o'clock sharp. And Sonful Roland, I'll have the priest proper burial. We'll have a sermon after dinner. I thank you all. Thank you. Please be on your ways. Don't let me hold you up.
Thank you, Father. He does the same triangle bow. Hopefully, like looking to Roland to see how to do it properly.
Yeah. I kind of try to show him a little bit.
And then, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He takes this halfling, this kid's got, and with his, one of his servants or whatever, the other younger priests and stuff kind of gathered up, and they all kind of hidden aside, leaving a lot of you out front. These other merchants just kind of begin unloading some wares and taking them into the church and stuff. You guys are left to do whatever you want for, it's probably later afternoon, so like 3-4, so you got a couple hours to kind of do whatever you want.
So Zach kind of puts his hands to the back of his head and has a smirk, and he looks to everybody and he's like, you guys heard the man? We have a few hours to spend, so, and then he looks to Leytrix, kind of like rolling his eyes and says, well, your highness, your lackeys seek to serve. Would you humble us in your presence as we trek through the city? And he's just being like a sarcastic little a-hole.
Don't encourage her, I say.
Oh, Zachary. And I walk up and put my hand on his shoulder and I go, you'll know where you stand eventually.
Of course, my highness. Let's go see what the city has to offer.
Oh, I think I got a map of Corvis I'll bring up real quick, too. Well, as soon as my computer stops freaking out here.
And then while you're looking for that, I'd look to Eustis and say, so you've been to Corvis before. Do you know where these churches of Cyrus are?
Yes, I do. And I make a turn on the next street heading towards the nearest one.
Nice. So where you guys are at, hopefully you can see my mouse pointer. The Church of Corvis is this great big one with the bridges kind of coming to it, all decked out in gold and everything. So that's where you guys are at. And this whole area is, like I said, built on a swamp, but the city itself is right on the edges where two rivers meet. I think it's called the Black River, and I don't remember the name of the other river offhand, but it's kind of that central point. And then they kind of break out. The one to the east goes out to the ocean. The one on the the one on the west goes out to the ocean. Northeast heads upwards. And then the one to the southeast there kind of heads down further into Signar. But yeah, you're at this big one, kind of crowned in gold and stuff. Let me stop that. So let's see. Zach and Eustis, you guys are heading to the Church of Cyrus. Roland, Leytrix, what are you guys doing?
I thought I was going with them.
Yeah, we're gonna follow the rest of them to their.
All right.
I'm having connection issues. I'm going to drop out and come back in if that's all right.
I was going to say, let's take like a quick 5-minute break so I can run to the bathroom and stuff, and then we will pick up with the second half of this.
Cool.
Sounds good.
So, who is the evil god?
That's his name. Manoth. It's technically it'd be Marrow's twin. It's a girl. Let's see. Or no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Thamar. There we go. That's what I meant to say. Thamar, who is the goddess of shadowy and illicits, represents evil and vice, selfishness, wicked, typical evil goddess. As far as your god, you'd probably go with Manoth, which is sort of the creator of the races and not necessarily primitive, but more old school paganistic sort of god of the elves and the dwarves and the original races and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he's not good or bad. He's pretty much neutral, just however he's looked at by whoever follows him, basically.
Okie dokie.
You don't see him really followed by the humans very much. They've kind of moved on from that and moved into the god of Marrow and stuff like that more than him. But there are a few around still.
I agree.
Don't be doing that, dude. We'll all be sleeping here, having a sleepover.
It's been a crazy day.
It sounds like it.
Look at that. While I was sitting ready to prep this today, I was watching Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Another new one.
Yeah. They have it on Netflix, so I've been binge watching it.
Yeah, how is it? Are they
They're good. I like
are they
them.
watching more modern movies or are they watching older movies still?
No, most of them are more modern. The one they did, I was watching Hobgoblins, which came out in the 80s, and
Oh, that one was good. Yeah.
Future War was the other one I watched, and I think that was in the 90s somewhere. Yeah. Basically like a wannabe Van Damme movie, but really bad.
Yeah, Future War was crazy.
Dinosaurs and cyborgs running around and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like Kung Fury.
That was a good one, too, yeah.
Yeah. It was what it was. It was trying to be serious.
Yeah. I liked at the end, or towards the end there, when they had the bomb and the seconds are like flying down. They're not even seconds. It's just like coming down super fast.
Yeah.
All right. I think everybody's back, so we will jump on in here and get rolling again. So everybody was headed to find the Church of Cyrus. Is that right?
I think that was about right.
Okay. I don't know if anybody... I'll have to throw the symbol of Cyrus up later, but it sort of looked... Oh, right there it is. I don't have a picture of it, but I can at least show you a screenshot of it. That is the Church of Cyrus, sort of like a gear with a almost a humanoid maiden sort of face in the middle of it.
Hold on. Whatever you did, put it back up again.
It's up there. I'm just showing it with my book there.
There we go. Thanks.
All right.
Our symbol's better than yours is.
Your symbol is crappy.
How dare you?
Alrighty. So as you guys kind of start moving your way through the city, it's like any other city. You have your very nice areas that seem to be upkeep, very well. You pass by the docks, and you can smell this disgusting, not brine, but the seaweed and the murk of the swampy waters and everything, the stench of the boats. You can see this whole area is filled with heavy pollution from the steamboats that run off the fuel. You see these huge lumbering labor jacks, 12, 13 foot tall gear clockwork type creatures, picking up these large boxes and crates off of these steamboats, moving them down the docks and loading other ones up. They kind of lumber about. They're all directed by these little men that wear these tall red hats and seem to be guiding these things and having them do what they're supposed to do and keeping them on track. As you kind of pass by one of them, you can see one all of a sudden kind of stand up and start jerking about, and then it falls to the ground. A whole bunch of these little guys in red hats run over trying to somehow get this thing under control, and it kind of swings around, this huge metal hand hitting one of them. You see them fly through the air, landing onto the road completely still. A couple people start screaming, and they start running over trying to get this thing under control that seems to be malfunctioning or something. And before you know it, the whole area is just filled with people, and you can hear the whirring of the gears on this thing and people screaming, a couple of bodies flying through the air and landing. And then you get up in the distance, you can see what looks to be a bridge that would kind of go across part of the river, but you can see these little gear spokes sticking up from it, and you can see the symbol of Cyrus kind of imprinted on the side of this thing. That looks to be like the main museum of Cyrus.
Zach would look to Eustis as the people in the red hats are like getting knocked over in this chaos and look confused and just never been to Corvis before, but what are they trying to do over there? That looks a little bit strange.
Seems their steam jack is malfunctioning, and I assume that's not a common occurrence.
Yeah, that's kind of normal as they try to get this thing under control.
Is there an opportunity for me to get in there and try to help?
If you want to, yeah.
I want to get in there and use my technomancy jury rig to try to repair whatever might be wrong with it.
All right. So kind of start pushing your way through. You can see all these little guys in the red hats, which you kind of recognize. Sometimes they're called warcasters, as they're supposed to kind of guide these things. Sometimes they're called jack techs. They have a bunch of different names. But basically, they're the guys who are in charge of keeping these things under control, keeping up their maintenance. You know that warjacks, steam jacks, labor jacks, they have a bit of intelligence. They're not actually smart or anything, but they can take simple commands and they follow simple guidelines and rules. Once they are given a mission, they basically follow it through to the best of their ability as far as they can. But it's not uncommon for them to somehow lose focus or to get conflicting commands or something like that, or overhear something wrong and just kind of go crazy until they're back under control. So you kind of push your way through these people and stuff. You see a couple more bodies fly through the air. As you get up in front of this area, Eustis, you see this steam jack. It almost looks like a four-legged spider creature. It has 4 legs. And on top of that, it has almost like a humanoid sort of torso and these 2 large arms with clamps at the end that is supposed to be grabbing these crates with and moving them around. And it just kind of flings about. You can see it spins around in circles a few times. Its feet kind of stomp into the ground, cracking the cobblestones. And then it kind of swings back. You see this huge gear-like hand come just whizzing just past the top of your head. Are you gonna cast a spell? You said.
Yeah, if I can wait for it to sweep over my head, and I'm gonna try to scurry around it, go to the back, and pull out my wand and kind of hit a button on it, and it starts sparking, and I'm gonna just jam it into the back and cast jury rig. Now normally it says that if the target is size 2 or smaller that has 1 or more damage but is not destroyed, and you can reach it, you touch the target and it removes 1d6 damage from it. I'm wondering if we can use that as kind of a way of resetting it,
Right. Kind of sparks. You see this whole machine kind of jerk almost upright and still for a minute, and then it just kind of slumps forward, deactivated for the moment. You can hear inside some of these gears reset, and you can see the steam shoots on the back of it. It let out these puffs of steam, and the whole thing just seems to be kind of reprogramming itself, resetting itself. Beside you, you see this guy kind of hurry over, his eyes kind of thanking you. He's like, young lad, it's a very, very fine job. What is this contraption you have? Very curious. Can I buy it? I would offer 50 copper bits.
Consider it my red hat. And I just walk away.
He watches you go. You see some of these other people kind of start talking a little bit, and they kind of look over a little bit, kind of impressed that you've done this. Give yourself 1 reputation for that. But you can hear them kind of talking, and you see this guy. He's like, wait a minute. Young man, what's your name?
Well, who wants to know?
Well, I just want to be able to tell the boss who fixed the jack today. Thing was getting a little out of control before we could get here. I just know I want to offer a proper thank you.
Tell him a handsome stranger helped you. And he says, unless, of course, your boss wants to repay me.
He might. I can't say for the boss, but if you...
I say, well, you talk to him, and you can find me at the church of, what is it, Mothra? What's the name?
Cyrus. Yes.
Cyrus.
No, the one I'm going to tonight.
Oh, Marrow.
You'll find me at the church of Marrow this evening.
Thank you, sir. I will tell him. Thank you. With that, he kind of turns around and kind of hurries over and starts kind of flipping some switches and levers on this thing. You can see that he starts pumping some sort of gear on the back, like he's winding it back up. The thing kind of sits upright and spins around a few times, and then kind of lurches forward and starts lumbering down the cobblestones back towards the docks.
Zach kind of smiles as you're walking away and says, Eustis, if you tell him that a good-looking stranger saved the day, I'm probably going to be the one that gets paid between me and you.
He just laughs and he just shakes his head as he walks away.
He walks with you. So this Church of Cyrus, let's get to it. I'm interested.
Let's.
So as you guys continue on down the main cobblestones here, you can see this large bridge coming into view. You can see it looks like a gear that spans this bridge. Down at the center of it, you can see the small doorway that kind of goes into the side. By the looks of it, it would actually be you would be walking inside of this bridgeway that arches over the water. As you get up to the doors, you can see what looks to be basically double doors, but with this large gear in the center. You'd have to kind of grab a hold and twist open, and then they would open up, which I'm assuming you do. So, as you kind of twist and open up, inside you get this very strong smell of oil, turpentine, paints, other odds and end chemicals and workwares and stuff. In the distance, you can hear some of the crackling electricity. And as you kind of glance over, you see this explosion kind of rock over in the side of the room, and this little woman get thrown to the side. She gives her head a shake and picks herself back up and runs back over to whatever she's working on, some little contraption, starts patting out the flames. All around you can see all these people, some of them in red hats now, working on these steam jacks and labor jacks. Other ones who are kind of look to be doing some sort of solar system sort of complex. You see what looks to be a planet, and then all these other little things kind of rotating around it on wires. You see these large bits of, they look like a steam jack, but they're much, much larger. So you see this huge hand that's a good maybe 20 feet in diameter in the center of the room, kind of leaning there. It's all encased in glass.
Have you ever seen a sight like that, lad?
No. This is absolutely incredible. And he's just like wide-eyed looking around the entire room, trying to take it all in.
He says, breathe, boy. That's the smell of future.
Takes a big breath in, and yes, I love that smell.
Smells like brimstone and burnt hair at the moment. Yeah,
I'd walk over to the, you said it's a human that got blown away?
Yep, a younger girl, maybe in her late teens.
So around my age then.
Probably, yeah. You can see this long, flowing blonde hair that she has kind of tied back and wrapped up into a bit of a bun, kind of clipped out of the way. She has these huge goggles that wrap around, so you kind of come up when she kind of turns to look at you. All you see are these huge round eyeballs staring back at you.
Yeah, I pull down my goggles actually too and say, "Hey there, Zach's the name. I can't help but notice that. Seems like you're working on something. You need any help? I'm kind of good with my hands."
She smiles. Sulfa's the name. She reaches out to shake your hand.
Sulfa. Pleasure to meet you. What are you working on here?
Oh, come look at my latest, my contraption. I'm not sure what to call it yet. Come. Kind of leads you over, and you see what looks to be almost like a little glass box that has these two little stacks that kind of come up out of it. One of them you can see what looks to be some sort of bubbling liquid, and the other one looks just like it's a rock that's at the bottom. Says, watch this. You got to get close to see what happens. And she kind of waves you in to look at it.
Should I get close? I just watched you get blown back. Are you sure?
Oh, it's fine. Trust me.
Okay. Kind of like cautiously lean in.
I'm not a virgin to this. Jeez. Kind of plucks this rock out with his pair of tongs. You ready for this?
Born ready.
Got to listen carefully. She drops this little stone in. It almost sounds like a very soft scream, just this high-pitched whistling. As you watch, this stuff starts to bubble up and it starts to pour over the side, almost like when you take vinegar and baking soda. It starts to bubble up out of this thing and down around the side. She's like, shit, run. And she just kind of like gives you a shove and starts to run away. Give me an agility challenge roll with 1 bane.
Okay. God damn it, Sulfa.
I'm standing away with my arms crossed, just kind of giggling.
I rolled a 9, but what I would like to do is actually use one of my spells or abilities called Rewrite Moment, and anytime I re-roll a dice, I can re-roll again and take that one. So is that okay?
Yepper.
Let's try again. And I'm assuming I have to roll again with the Bane?
Yes. Yep.
12. So do you want to tell me what it looks like when I fail, and then I'll flavor it from there?
Sure. So as you would kind of, start to move out of the way, she gives you a bit of a shove as she's trying to, get herself out of the way as well. You feel your feet kind of got tangled up, and the both of you would hit the kind of ground hard where you were at. And
it begins to explode, or?
Yep.
So then
as this thing would completely go off from there.
So this plume of explosion starts to happen, and Zach kind of sees it in slow-mo, and he's like grabbing the girl and taking it into his arm as he falls down, and he sees this like big explosion kind of like slowly boiling out, and he slams his hand down into his belt buckle, which is connected to this quote-unquote fanny pack that he has behind him, and you hear it start to instantly like push into overdrive. Steam starts bursting out of it, and the turbine starts spinning like crazy. And then all of a sudden you hear like this wub, 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 and the explosion starts to cadence back in, and you see it like go from this big kind of pluming explosion to back in the thing. And then they're standing together, and you hear her saying, "Oh shit, run!" And then he instinctively grabs her and jumps out of the way and rolls and misses the explosion.
Beautiful. Yeah, this thing kind of blows apart again. Those of you around it see bits and pieces of this little contraption blow out of the way.
I kind of do like a jog over to him and help them up. The lady first, and I say, "So you're a chauffeur. You'll get it. Believe me, you'll get this someday."
Hey, thank you, Zach. I don't know what happened there. That's twice today. No, wait. That's the 4th time today that didn't quite work. You see, it's supposed to create a bit of an explosion like that, but it coalesced into a beautiful array of sparks and like fireworks. I'm trying to create new fireworks for the longest night celebration.
Now, I have academics in engineering. Can I do some kind of check to find out what she's doing wrong?
Sure. Give me an intellect challenge roll with a boon.
With a boon. All right. So let me roll that, and this is +1. 9.
You look like you have a bit of experience. You want to take a look at it, Zach? I don't understand what I got wrong. She starts kind of going over this list of paper and these measurements of everything that she has. Everything, as far as you can see, look like it should be on par. But
can I spend my fortune to re-roll? I really want to get this right.
Yeah.
All right, let me try again. Ah, you son of a gun. No, I didn't get it.
Yes.
Damn.
It kind of looks at you and, seeing that you're not quite sure either. She's like, well, shit happens sometimes. I guess I'll get back to the drawing board and do what I've got. I'll let you know when I do this again, Zach. Perhaps we can watch the fireworks explode next time, and you won't have to tackle me to the ground.
Yeah,
or maybe you can. She gives you a bit of a wink.
I kind of grab you. I grab Zach by the shoulder and just pull him away, and I say, "You'll be in touch."
Yeah, he's kind of smiling, like rubbing his head, like, yeah, maybe, and like doesn't. So Eustis is saving him because you can tell he doesn't know what to say.
Wait. She hurries up and grabs a piece of this paper she was working on, kind of shoving it into your hand. Zach, she says, we'll be in touch. Yes. Have a good day, fellas. And kind of open it. You can see it looks to be an address.
Yeah, he's just kind of like waving as Eustis is pulling him away.
And I'm kind of far enough away now. I've got him under my arm, and I say, she's a fine lady.
Yeah, it's real explosive personality, you might say.
I would.
You can give yourself plenty of reputation for that, Zach.
Cool.
I say, but that is not the lady we are here for. And I motion to the nearest symbol of Cyrus.
So as you kind of step up, this whole place is kind of like a level, and then a few steps up, and then a bit of a level, and a few steps up and a level. As it kind of inside this bridge, as the walk makes its way over. As you guys move through this bridge, you see all these different people working on odds and ends. Excuse me. You see some of the old relics, old contraptions. So you see like very old steam jacks. Here and there, you see these pieces that look like a steam jack. They're just massive, like that massive hand downstairs. It seems like each floor has a bit. Eustis, as you move along, you realize that these are part of what used to be called Titans. Very, very old steam jacks. There were easily 200, 300 feet in size, controlled by dozens of men that would be in the side controlling these things with levers and gears and winches that they used during the old wars to combat against ancient evils and stuff, and some of these huge monsters.
And I'm explaining this to Zach, and I say, you see, these were used in the old wars to combat ancient evils. It took 12, 20 men to I'm trying to pilot. That's the word. To pilot these strange machines. Truly, nothing has been done like this since.
Yeah, so you know that these things, like I said, there's nothing has been done with them since. The engineering for these things is not necessarily lost, but it's simply encrypted and out of date, and they haven't been able to piece something like this together again since the old wars. That those books and those bindings were lost, but they're definitely trying to create something. You can see steam jacks constantly are getting a little bit bigger. So yeah, you kind of continue at the very, very top of this archway bridge at the top level of this museum. You can see that large altar made out of gears, wires, bits of copper. You see these little vials of steam rising up out of it all around as this main statue, altar, whatever you want to call it, towards Cyrus. You can see the gears turning. Inside, you see this large orb that slowly kind of spins. Anybody with enough intelligence would recognize this as the planet that you're on. Those that don't believe in the planet would probably think otherwise, but there seems to be a new movement that you're actually on some sort of planet that is revolving around a star. Most people think that's just a hoax.
This is crazy. Our planet is flat. I do not agree with this.
And the sun should be revolving around yours, not the other way around.
Yeah, I'd actually look at Rolan and be like, "This is just incredible, don't you think, Rolan? Like, can you imagine fighting in one of these giant creations, 20-man pilots?"
It is quite beautiful.
It's weird to think that as man keeps pushing forward in technology, it's like we keep pushing the Earth itself that much more into recession. Kind of strange.
As you just finished saying that, Zach, you can hear like the grinding of gears behind you. As you kind of turn, you see this person sitting in a chair. The wheels themselves seem to be motorized of some sort with a bunch of gears. On the back of it is this little, almost like a fanny pack, little tank. You can see the flames inside of it. He's somehow using the steam of this thing to power this chair. He has a couple little levers on the side. Seems to be a man, but he's dressed in the thick red robes that kind of go down his whole body. The hood is up, and in place of his face, he has a metal mask that looks like the Cyrus symbol there. Just has a little opening across the center area, and then for the eyes. Kind of nods, gives you a bit of a nod. Welcome to the Church of Cyrus, fellows. You look like tinkerers yourself. Fancy machines you have there. Would you care to tell me about them?
Zach would be like, greetings, my name's Zach, and I can appreciate a man that sees a good style of sense in a satchel. As he looks at his fanny pack and shakes his hand. It's a nice satchel you have there.
Yes, I built it myself many years ago. It does its job. You see, my lower extremities no longer work. An unfortunate accident. But yeah. I built this. I get where I need to go. And he kind of gives it a whir, and you can see he kind of wheels backwards and forwards, spins around. It does a little 360 thing.
Mine's not quite for the same thing. And I kind of give it a pat, and you hear it just kind of like jangle around. But it gets the job done for what I need it for.
That's very, very fancy. You're young in your years, young man. I'm sure you will perfect your technology. What about you? You look like you're a little bit older than this fellow. This year must be your son, no?
Oh, no relation, actually.
I'm black.
Oh. Well, he didn't even notice, so.
Might want to adjust your mask there.
Yes. I better. Yes, clearly I was mistaken. I'm sorry.
We get that all the time. Don't worry.
I was too focused on your fanny pack.
I respect that.
No relation.
Why don't you tell me about your pack there you have? It's funny. I don't think I've ever seen such a thing, really.
Well, I don't know what I want to say about it, actually. It's
that's totally understandable. A true engineer needs to keep his things to himself so they can be patented and trademarked in time. You don't want to give away such secrets. That's certainly understandable.
Of course, you understand. Now, what's your station here? Are you a clergyman?
Well, if you would like to call me, though, here in the church, we don't really call ourselves clergy. I'm just the high engineer. I take care of this premises here. A bit of a caretaker, a mentor, a teacher, whatever you might want to call me.
Well, I'm glad I found you then. I engineer your name?
Balda. Irrelevant Balda, but you can call me Clergyman Balda.
Clergyman
Engineer
Balda. Engineer Balda.
Sorry.
It's all right. Hi, Engineer Balda. I've heard a rumor that one of the high priestess's tomb was defiled, ransacked by grave robbers. Have you any evidence to back this claim?
Father Damas was here. Probably a good week or so ago. Speaking of such matters, to be quite honest, I have not been able to get out yet. You understand with my current predicament, I don't get outside of the place here very much. I had people who are planning to look into the matter, though. From what I understand, they have uncovered a few bits, and they've kind of transferred over to Father Damas. To be quite honest, I've been lacking in my duties. There's so much going on here, and we've made headway in multiple things. Preparing the works for the festival. It's just been a crazy couple of weeks.
Well, perhaps there's something I can do around here to help you to gather your thoughts.
He says, well, if you're interested in looking into the matter, my people are better served here in the museum. So maybe they can get back to work. If you could look into the matter and let me know what you find, I'd be greatly honored. The church clearly would thank you. We pay our mentors. Perhaps you can teach some of the students, teach them classes or something. But we can give you a station here for sure.
Yes, I'd love to teach a class. Perhaps tomorrow morning.
Well, ambitious man. Yes. We could certainly work something up.
Yes, I'm very eager to lecture. I've got many thoughts coming through my head.
Are you sure that you can lecture Eustis? Or are you just going to be tight-lipped on all of your inventions? I know that you don't like to really talk about things. He kind of like looks back at his pack.
I suppose you'll have to come to the lecture and find out.
You won't tell them shit like usual.
I think Leytrix is onto something there.
No one asked you, Leytrix. You might learn a thing or two as well. So what say you, High Engineer Balder?
Well, I think we have ourselves a deal. So, what's your name again?
Flaircroft. Eustis Flaircroft.
Eustis. I think we can do that, Mr. Flaircroft. Like I said, I speak with Father Damas. He'll be able to kind of fill you in on what we've uncovered. As I said, I've been lax in my grave robbing duties. More important things around here must be handled too. He seemed to have it under control last I knew, but I'd be quite curious, interested to know in what you uncover. It's a grave deed, and indeed.
Indeed, it is a grave deed.
Indeed.
Oh, you guys. Old timer humor.
He kind of taps a thing on his wrist a few times. I must be going. But yes, tomorrow morning, come along, and I would be very interested in this class. I'll post it to the boards now. Professor Flaircroft, lecture.
Very good. We'll, and I look to Zach, perhaps look into this grave matter tonight and meet you in the morning with what we find.
Yes. This lecture sounds amazing, Professor. But we've been here for a while now, and poor Roland and Leytrix, they don't necessarily share our beliefs. So I think it's time for us to get on, and we'll go dine with Father Damas.
Damas.
Right? Damas. Thank you for your patience, Roland and Leytrix. I know you guys don't necessarily share the same beliefs we do.
Oh, it's quite fine. You were patient with me.
So this Church of Marrow, do they have any good cooks? I'm starving.
And
it's more gruel than anything else.
we all start walking towards the door, but right before the door, there's like this. It looks like a bird fountain, but it's filled with oil. And I dip my fingers in it and put some on my forehead to anoint myself, and say a little prayer to Cyrus as I walk out.
Just at the gate and the doorway to walk out, you see a younger lad, maybe early teens. You can see that he's clearly a student here. He has the typical ceremonial student garb, school outfit, if you will. On he too has this little blot of oil on his forehead. He gives you a bit of a nod and kind of goes, "Arr," like he's winding up some gears or something, as you kind of walk through the doors back out into the city here. He does look at you for just a moment, Leytrix, almost like he's trying to get a look at what you are, as he kind of watches you go by. And then as you start to you can see that he's craning his head around the corner, staring at your rear for the moment. If you happen to notice him, he quickly snaps into position again at the door and disregards that he was admiring your posture.
She knows.
You can see as you walk out there, even it's wintertime, so the sun is definitely starting to kind of hang low. It's definitely getting close to that time. You guys are able to kind of bustle back through the city. Looks like a lot of the docks are starting to kind of quiet down a little bit. Most of the people piling into the various pubs and taverns. Probably not the best places to be this time of night. As you can see, some of the more rougher folk are making their way out for the night. Anything else before you head back to the Church of Marrow?
I stopped by the local pub, and how much I want to get like a small keg of whatever it would take, 10 copper. How much would that give me?
Oh, If you wanted to get like a small keg, it'd only be about 3 copper. It's pretty cheap,
Okay.
watered down stuff. But at the best that they got, just a Black River grog.
And I kind of meet back up to the group with a keg in my hands.
Zach would try to buy a couple of loaves of bread to bring to the dinner too.
Sure. 1 copper each.
Okay.
For a nice big loaf. So.
And I say to Leytrix, I say, it's customary to bring something to the meal here.
Who's custom?
Oh, I'm saying that to Leytrix. I'm saying like as we're.
Oh no, and she's. Whose custom is this?
The custom of the city.
Custom of the city. Okay. That sounds like a plan. And she would stop and try to find a shop to bring some elven wine if she can find some.
Oh, give me a perception challenge roll.
Yeah, let me do that. And no boons or banes, right?
Nope, just straight up.
That's a 19, sir.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you kind of continue to make through. You pass through this kind of shittier area and into what looks to be a very high-end marketplace. Most of the people are kind of closing up their shops and, closing up the wagon hatch things, where they have the outdoor shops and stuff. But in the distance, you see one that has all these small little votive candles. You see a couple bottles of wine on the back shelf. One of them, you recognize this dark red ruby-colored bottle. Definitely not something you expected to see here. A simple elderflower elven wine up on the shelf. Something you haven't seen since your time back home. Behind the counter, you see a younger man, maybe in his early 20s, getting ready to kind of close things up as he sees you kind of bustling forward. Hey, can I help you? I'm just getting ready to close up shop here, but I see you're eyeballing the wine.
Yeah, it's a very special bottle of wine you have up there.
It kind of gives you a bit of a look. It's like an elf. We don't get very many of your kind here. Certainly, you could admire the taste from your fine home of Ios. There was another elf, probably a good 3 weeks ago, who traded me this bottle for some wares. Are you interested?
Yeah, and a couple of things. Who was this other elf?
Oh, hell if I know. He come through. He bought off a couple old flintlocks from us. Older antique things. Certainly not something to work very well in this day and age. A bit outdated, but very fine antiques. He seemed to be a collector of sorts. Says I can't remember his name. Started with a G. Gorge? Something with a G. Says, I'm sorry, Mr. Sam. Generally don't get everybody's names. I deal with a lot of people here.
I can understand. Yeah, I'm very interested in that bottle. May I handle it?
Oh, well, certainly. He kind of reaches up and hands it over. You can see that it's very finely crafted bottle. The bottle itself's probably worth a decent chunk back in your homeland. And it has the little elderflower label and everything. Full bottle, completely corked. Shows that it's about 13, 14 years old.
Mm-hmm. She looks at this, the bottom at the sediment like you should. Make sure that she leans it just a bit. Make sure there's a little bit of sediment in the bottom, which there is. She goes, how much would you like to sell me this for?
Says, well,
Yeah,
since themselves were worth a few copper. Being so far from your homeland, I'm sure you miss your kin. This probably means a bit to you. How about 8 copper?
8 copper. I can spare 5.
You drive a hard bargain, mistress. The guns that I traded were worth a bit over 6. He says, I can do 7, but otherwise I'm losing money. Say for 7. Certainly, I got to put food on the table for my children. I'm sure you understand. I would easily sell this for normally probably a good 14 copper. That's 50% off.
I say she'll take it, and I look at her with kind of like, like this is a really good deal kind of eyes.
She 100% looks back at Eustis, looks back at the shopkeeper and goes, sounds like a plan. And she gives him 6 copper pieces into his hand. It presses it into his hand it puts them in a stack, so so you don't get to kind of count them. You know what I mean? It pushes them in there nice and strong, takes the bottle, turns around, and starts to walk away.
You get a few feet, and you say, my lady, I think we're missing a coin. Is it a 7 copper? Was it? There's 6 here.
I take out 8 copper, and I pay him the full amount for the wine, and I say, my friend isn't good with numbers. And
yes, the numbering system is different on the island. It's sorry.
Good save. He's like, I understand. The elves are a strange folk. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And he kind of puts the money into his till and stuff, and thanks you as you kind of walk away. Thank you.
We're walking out, and I look at my jug, and then over to the wine, and I say, "You've effectively turned mine into a jug of piss."
Well, that's what good wine does. L is piss.
With 3 big baguettes of bread in his hand, Zach comes up to Rolan and is like, "What are you bringing, Rolan?"
I'll say the prayers over dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, he certainly wouldn't be expected to bring anything. Plus, he brought him a saint. Adelard.
I look forward to hearing your sermon.
With that, you guys make your way here to the Church of Marrow. As you come up to the gate, you can see Father Damas standing up front, bringing in what looks to be a pot of flowers that he had. He kind of looks over us. Young man, Roland's son, I'm happy you all could make it. Come. The maids are setting the table now. It'll take just a moment. And you kind of walk into this large loft area. You can see these wrapping stairwells that kind of go up either side of the building to a loft up ahead, and then further deeper into the cathedral. Directly ahead of you is this large open archway that leads into what looks to be like a feasting house. You see that nice long table, and you can see a few bowls been placed out around the different seating areas, and a couple of the younger clergy, women and stuff, kind of setting these plates, bowls and place meals and everything kind of down for everything. A couple of them take seats and begin to eat as well. Father Damas will come up beside you, and I'm glad you all could make it for dinner. Come, let's have a meal and discuss the day, shall we? He kind of nods and says, you shouldn't have brought gifts. We can't accept gifts of this manner.
I kind of push the keg into his arms, and I say, we may disagree, but we are both human, and that's got to stand for something.
Most certainly, young man. I can't thank you enough for this. We will tap it for dinner and drink heartily this evening. Celebrate your successful travel here and to good prosperity. And technological advances, if that's your thing.
It is.
Well, they kind of waves everybody forward to go ahead and take your seats. Those of you, with your wine and your long baguettes, he'll politely decline anything if given to him, but he happily would let you, place the things out on the table, and the others are welcome to it as well. Before you, he kind of motions, lets you sit wherever you want. There's simply just a stone bowl, what looks to be filled with some sort of oatmeal or porridge, covered over what looks to be fresh fruit. You got fresh loaves. One of these younger clergy women bring out what looks to be a large bowl of butter and a small spreading knife to go with the bread. They all kind of sit down, getting ready to eat. The father looks over at Roland. Roland, son, perhaps you would like to say a prayer this evening. No disrespect to yourselves. I understand you follow different beliefs, but it is customary here in the church. I hope you don't mind.
Preach what you must.
Dear Marrow, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to return the saint. Let us all eat heartily and sleep well tonight. Amen. And I do the little triangle symbol.
All around the table, they all do the little bless Marrow and do the little nod. He takes no offense for those of you that don't or anything. He seems to be quite curious.
Zach with you.
He seems quite interested in you, Leytrix. He, kind of watches you through this, and once everybody kind of starts eating and stuff, he pours himself a bit of this wine, assuming you let him, and as well as a glass for yourself. He says, "We don't get many elven ladies in these parts. What brings you to Corvis, my friend?"
I kind of cough for a sec.
He says, "Oh, I thought I might have to do the Heimlich."
Yeah, it's a little strange.
We're both kind of talking over each other. She's my mistress.
Not many men get the likeness of an elven woman.
You can kind of see a half face of regret, at me saying,
and a look of disgust. Where he kind of turns his head that the clergyman can't see it. With what the fuck are you talking about?
I kind of kick her under the table to remind her that we're fugitives.
Zach leans over to Roland and is like, "I didn't know that they had that kind of relationship. Did you?"
And I kind of hear that, and I say, "We're trying to keep it under wraps." But
yeah.
You see the father kind of snicker a bit. Under the blanket wraps, you mean?
Yeah,
Father,
Roland has
It must be the wine. Wine does that to me sometimes. Forgive my crudeness.
Crude. That was a crudies.
That's amazing.
You hear?
I say, we will need separate accommodations, though. You see, we are, and I look at her again, celibate.
Zach would be like, you guys don't sleep in different rooms when we're out on the road. Are you sure? Now that that's out in the open, you guys might as well just embrace it.
We've made a pact of abstinence.
Yeah, something like that.
The father kind of gives you one of those little winks. Zach says, "Celibate. Yes. Oh, Alexia, please join us." As he kind of looks past you guys, you kind of turn. You see this very young woman, early 20s, sorry, raven-haired sort of mistress. I got a picture. Let's see. There you go. Very young, beautiful woman. She wears these circlet sort of aqua earrings, and she has that circlet on her head, kind of bends down. Those of you who are the Church of Marrow or familiar with it anyway would know that it's just a simple circlet like some of the daughters or the higher up family members of the church would wear. kind of designated her as a bit of an upper one.
Eustis,
White. Sorry, go ahead.
Eustis is kind of like cursing himself for coming up with the front of being taken, and she's serving something on the table.
Oh nope, she kind of walks in. She wears very nice, fancy silken gowns. Certainly doesn't really look like a priestess or part of this church. She seems to be more finely dressed than what they would allow for.
Well, he stands up suddenly, like just kind of awkwardly, just like, and he's never acted this way around a woman before, and he's just kind of like, and he just kind of looks around and he says, "Come on, boys, a lady just walked in."
Zach would stand up and like smash his knee on the table. Also, my lady.
All the things jiggle on the table. She says, bit of a smile on her face. Uncle, you didn't tell me we'd be having guests this evening. My apologies, gentlemen and lady. Down at the other end, you see all the other younger clergy women and stuff just continuing to eat. They don't really seem to take too much notice. And she kind of moves over, sitting down in between Eustis and her uncle, and kind of pulling forward a bowl.
I kind of like help push her chair, and I sit down and just kind of
gives you kind of a warm smile. The name's Alexia. She kind of holds out her hand for you to take.
And I take it immediately and I say, "Fair Alexia," and I kiss it.
Such a sweet young man. And she kind of looks over at Zach and gives you a bit of a nod. And the same with Leytrix. Her eyes kind of come to rest on you for a second, Roland. She says, you must be the young priestman who brought us the saint this morning. I've heard tales of your journeys. My uncle here was telling me about you. We can't thank you enough for bringing the saint back to the tombs here. I believe they put him down below. Perhaps tomorrow I can take you down and show you around.
I would like that very much.
Good. With that, she kind of gives you everybody a warm smile and, slowly begins eating.
Zach leans into Roland's ear and is like, now I know why you serve Marrow. I get why you brought that saint.
The perks are pretty good sometimes.
No doubt about it. He kind of says a little bit too loud.
You can see a bit of a smirk cross her face, and she kind of eyes you from the corner of her eyes.
I glare at Zach.
He's just confused look because he looks over at Leytrix and back to you, just like shrugs his shoulder.
So, gentlemen, why don't you tell me about your journeys? And I'm very curious in your elven friend here. She kind of looks over at you, Leytrix. She says, "I'm late, or Alexia is my name. And what's yours, maiden?"
Muted.
Are you speaking to me?
Oh, yes. I was just introducing myself. The name is Alexia. I was just curious how I should address you. I don't get to meet very many elves.
Well, that doesn't very much surprise me, I can't say. What is your Alexia? Is that what you said?
Yes, Alexia. Alexia Damas.
And what do you do here?
Well, I live here with my uncle. My parents passed away years ago. He took me in, raised me as one of his own. She kind of reaches over and gives her uncle a bit of a hug. Not much of a priestess. I follow the ways of Marrow, I suppose, but I'm a bit of a free roaming soul.
Are you?
I hope that one day I will be able to kind of travel these lands and seek out the wonders, especially of your land. I've heard many tales of Ios. I know the elves don't let many people in. Perhaps someday I'll have the honor of your people.
Or maybe you just need to know the right elf.
Perhaps. But may I call you maiden? I'm not sure what the proper terminology is for your kind.
How about you just call me Leytrix?
Leytrix. Beautiful name.
And how old are you, Alexia?
Oh, 21. I'm sure that is far much younger than you yourself, though you don't look a day over myself.
Well, that would be correct. I am, I've forgotten much more than you ever learn, I think. But
Most certainly.
It was certainly lovely to have met you. And then she just kind of trails off.
Shink has been nodding since well, perhaps after dinner, you and I, we can go, upstairs. I can show you around some of the gowns. There's some more, we can leave these men to speak of their own things. Perhaps you can tell me tales of your land. I'm very curious to know. Share a bit of wine.
He's not much of a talker. You might want to hear some of my tales.
Are you speaking of me, Eustis?
Yes,
I would absolutely love to, my friend. I would love to leave the brutishness of these men. They bore me.
Yes, I deal with it every day. How these priests around here. No offense, Uncle. He just kind of gives a bit of a smile and a nod. And he says, "Yes. Us older men do have more important things to discuss. But my dear, I do need to speak with the young elf lady for just a short while. I believe I have some work for them, but then she can retire to the chambers upstairs, and the two of you can have pillow fights and sleepovers."
Oh, jeez.
Like to himself, he's just like, why did I ever create that lie that Leytrix and I are?
Zach would say to Alexia to not keep Leytrix too long, though, because Eustis, her lover, probably wants to give her a goodnight kiss before she goes to bed.
No. I didn't think you would. That's interesting. She kind of looks over at Leytrix and gives you a bit of a knowing sort of smile, and you as well.
Surprisingly, love just knows no bounds, they say.
They say, he says, well, I can understand the lady's, Leytrix's fascination. Yeah, he's a very handsome man. Those eyes, they seem to have wisdom beyond your years, sir. Why, if you weren't with her, I'd snatch you up in a heartbeat.
Well, we have a sort of open relationship. We on again, off again.
I'm gonna be honest with you. How do I address you, sir? The clergyman here. I don't know much about your religion.
Father Damas. You can call me Father Damas.
Father, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I have no desire to sleep with this man ever. I'm not his mistress. It was again. She kind of looks towards Alexia and goes, again, maybe we should retire so that we can be away from all this testosterone.
She lets out a bit of a laugh. Yes, I'll finish my meal here, and we can wander around upstairs. And Father Damas kind of looks at us. Wait, young lady. I do have a few words for the elf, and then she may retire. She will be taking the suite off in old Beatrice's room, if you will. That should be quite comfortable for our friend. Alexia gives a bit of a nod.
Zach would pipe up and to Rolan be like, Rolan, today when we were in combat, that was absolutely amazing when you strode across the battlefield in harm's way and saved another man's life. I don't think anyone, Rolan, would have made it through that unless it was for your great healing powers and your fortitude and bravery in battle. That was amazing. You were making sure it's loud enough that she would hear it.
Yeah, her eyes certainly kind of glance over to you, Roland.
Zachariah. And I just kind of like hold my fork and just kind of squeeze it a little bit. And just, what about when you were covered in shit?
At this time, Roland just kind of blushes whenever he says that and just like starts to eat his food a little bit.
You certainly see that bit of that twinkle in Alexia's eyes. She smiles a little bit. She stares at you, Roland. I can imagine you striding across the field, armor gleaming, the sweat. Yes. And she kind of goes back to eating, kind of trailing off a little bit. Now,
I'm sweaty too.
Alexia will kind of smile at you for a moment. Eustis says, your friend is kind of speaking a little bit quieter. She says, quite a handsome fella. You must tell me of his bravery one of these days. But I won't keep your lady friend too long tonight. I understand she's embarrassed. She's probably not used to our customs. But I won't keep her too busy so that you can do your things. She'll be in room 13. You see Alexia kind of finish off her bit of her meal that she's eaten and kind of pick up. She says, Uncle, if I'm going to go ahead and prepare the rooms. And she kind of looks over at Leytrix. Give me a short while. I'll let the Father Damas, my uncle here, speak with you. And if you follow the stairs upstairs, it'll be the third bedroom on your right. I'll happily prepare everything around for you. Would you like to have a bath drawn from your days on travel? I'll happily get it ready.
Yeah, I would love a bath.
Yeah, it's very well. With that, she kind of picks up her bowl. She offers Roland as she kind of walks by. She gives you this sort of warm, flirtatious bit of a smile. Her letting her gown just gently brush against your arm. You can feel the curve of her waist as she passes by, kind of through these swinging doors into the distance. A few minutes later, you can see her walking up the stairwell, up to the loft above. Father Damas kind of looks around at clears his throat a little bit. You can see that the other younger clergy people and everything hurry up and gather their stuff and kind of leave the room. I won't keep the lot of you very long. I know you're weary from your travels. Alexia will have everything prepared for you. But perhaps I can go over a bit of this information that I found and then let you retire to the Knights. Again, I can't thank you enough for potentially following through with these things. The city doesn't much care for the church anymore, and I'm too far along in my years to go searching for grave robberies. I'm sure you understand.
It surely is truly a shame that the city has neglected the people of this establishment.
Yes, it's a shame. So, to get right to the point, there's been a total of, as far as I know, there's been 5 robberies so far. I have he kind of digs around in his pocket and pulls out a bit of a piece of paper and sets it down. He's next to you, Eustis, so he kind of slides it over to you, and you see a bunch of different things listed on there. It says, a few of the engineers, the young ones from Cyrus, I spoke with the head engineer. He sent a few people my way with a little bit of info. This is what they uncovered. They're quite busy at this time preparing for the longest nights. But I haven't quite been able to follow through on this. But if you will, take a look over this, and perhaps you can dig into the matter a little bit.
It's a piece of paper.
As you kind of look down at it, you see that it lists 5 different locations. It says and I'll post this into the Facebook chat after the game, but it says the Silva family in the Mansanata family, city of Corvis, northern graveyard. The Gaddick family, Thick Gaddick family farm outside the eastern gates. The Sunbright family, Sunbright estate, southern Corvis. Hopless family in Burkett family, eastern boneyard, just outside the city gates. And Fullett family farm, north of the city. And like I said, I'll have a piece of paper in the little handout actually into the chat later. It says these are the robberies that have been taken. I don't see a pattern that's ranged from the poor to the wealthy, to the priestess, to the lowest scum.
I can make an intellect roll to see if I can see any particular thing going on.
Sure. Do you have any professions that might help?
I have some political background, so maybe with like understanding of different parts of the city.
Okay.
As a
yeah, give me an intellect with 1 boon then.
I'm gonna use. Can I use my fortune?
Sure.
So I re-roll my d20, right?
Yep.
Okay. That's better. 20.
All right. From what you can see, the Sunbright family is very well known in the political circle. Most of the Sunbrights are barons and lords of different cities and stuff around. You know, the one that's here in Corvis hasn't taken any sort of political role, but they're very high-class merchants, very, very wealthy. You would know that the Northern Graveyard as well, Silva family and Mansanata family both come from there. This Northern Graveyard is upper middle class, pretty wealthy stuff. It's, you know, it costs quite a bit to be buried there. Where most of the other ones, you either don't recognize the name, or if you notice the Eastern Boneyard, that is for like the poorest of the poor. Half the time they just kind of drop the bodies in a ditch and leave them there because they just don't have the money. They might stick a rock on the ground as a marker. But it definitely runs the gamut. You don't come up with too much more, you know, kind of than that at the moment.
And you're gonna give me the map?
Yeah, I'll post a little thing in the chat after the game. Yep.
Okay, cool. So go ahead.
What exactly are they taking from the graves? Just everything, or?
No, the entire bodies, everything is gone. Those that were in the ground are missing. Those in the tombs, like the Sunbright estate, the tomb itself is right on the estate. It was broken into, from what I understand, and the body's gone. Oddly enough, there was none of the wealth was gone in the Sunbright estate. Plenty of trinkets and heirlooms in this tomb, all were left untouched, but the body itself gone. It's always the body. Any odds and ends were left. I don't believe this the work of typical grave robbers, but the guards, the police here, they think it's just somebody pranking us.
No prankster could be that stupid.
Well, that is my argument as well, but it's very disconcerting.
The entry into these tombs, into these coffins, any evidence that they're using magic to enter into these crypts?
As I said, I'm much too old to be turning around. I don't have any evidence of such, but I can't deny it either. Unfortunately, I'm unsure. You'd have to check on them yourselves and see what you might be able to find.
Is there any graves left in the city that haven't been touched yet?
You mean like graveyards and stuff?
Yeah.
Nope, those are the only 2 main graveyards besides separate tombs that are like private or whatever. So no, seems to be happening all over town, even outside of the city proper. It seems no place is safe, I guess. There's a total of 7 bodies so far. The first was over at the Sunbright Estate. The Baron, he stopped by, miserable, cranky old man. Couldn't wait for him to leave. Happened about a month ago.
And why did he...
What's that?
Go ahead, Wes.
Why did he come to you, Father?
I believe it was typical. He had me say some rites over the body that was missing and ask if I had any idea who might do such a thing.
Of course.
I wish I could have helped him more, but I offered him a bit of a blessing, and as well as his missing relative.
Well, I think I speak for my companions when I say that we are interested, but we seek compensation.
Oh, certainly. I don't have much, as you can clearly see. Free room, free board. I'll have to gather up a bit of coinage if I can to see what I might be able to offer yourselves. But I promise, on the word of Marrow and myself, you will be paid for your time.
I understand, sir, that you may not have much, but the church has a lot. And if this is important to the church, then they will pay.
He says, that's very true. I don't have, the monetary means to do such a thing, but I can guarantee that somewhere down the line, the people will, the higher-ups will drop some money in the coffers. I will ensure you make out well. Whatever you deem fair.
And I kind of lean in towards Zach and I say, I deem Alexia the most fair.
But, and he'd lean in and whisper, wouldn't Leytrix, are you sure she'd be okay with that?
I say, I kind of slap him on the back of the head and I say, get with it, boy.
With that, he kind of looks over at Rolan, Father Damas does. Roland's son, what would you deem a fair payment to these gents for serving the church? Since I don't deal in such things these days, you're a younger fellow.
Is Roland there?
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
You see Father Damas kind of look over at you. Young Roland's son, what do you think would be a fair payment for these fellows for helping the church? I don't deal with the monetary values these days. What's a good payment this day and age for researching grave robberies?
I stand up quickly and go behind Father and start pouring a drink. And I'm trying to mouth the words Alexia behind him.
Well, Father, we just got paid 50 gold, 50 copper for escorting a caravan here.
50 copper.
50 copper. Oh, well, I'm sure I could easily match the payment of that. Probably do a little more. What do you say for a fine day's work? 50 copper, I think, is more than fair. Would the rest of you agree?
More than enough, Father.
Yes. Thank you for the wine. He kind of glances over, offers you a bit of a smile, sees your glaring face. Is something wrong, Eustis? Does that not well enough for you?
I just kind of am embarrassed for a second. I said, perhaps I'm not. And he just kind of trails off for a second and says, I'm rather tired. We'll look into this, but first I need a good night's sleep. Where are the lady's staying, just so that way I don't go to the wrong place.
Yes. Well, your mistress, and he kind of motions towards Leytrix. She doesn't seem as enamored as you do with her at the moment, but she'll be in the 13th room. The rest of you, you can pick a room, any on the 3rd floor. They're all empty. They're for guests. You're welcome to any of the rooms that you might like. They're all quite simple, but I think you'll find them comfortable, fully stocked, running water.
Very interesting. Now, if we're all staying in these rooms, where does your staff stay?
Very simple here at the church. We don't believe in the luxuries of such things. We have rooms downstairs in the lower level, just simple bunk beds and, a plain place to stay for the night.
Very good. Well, I will be off to bed then. And he takes one more glass of the wine and just kind of downs it really quick and sets it down. Good night. And he heads upstairs.
So you guys see Eustis kind of X out and good night, young man. Sleep tight. And, as they say, don't let the bed bugs bite. I really don't have bed bugs though. Kind of whispers it over at Zach. He says, for the rest of you, if you have any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'll leave this paper here for you in the morning. Kind of slides it over to you, Zach. Your friend forgot it. But
he seemed to be occupied for some reason tonight. A little bit different than maybe the wine got to him.
The wine got to me too. I'm not normally this entertaining and ambitious. I'm generally a boring old man. But back in my younger days, I used to be quite the rebel. I remember this one time. I went into the old pub down the street, sat down to have a glass, and I ended up drinking. And he just starts droning on for like the next 10 minutes about this time that he was in the pub and had 3 drinks, which was probably about 2 too many than he should have. And ended up getting into a bit of a bar fight, and that's how he ended up getting here into this tavern or this chapel, cathedral, whatever you want to call it, and finding his way on Marrow. And he kind of starts getting into this whole lecture of Marrow and pretty much trying to school you all in it.
Is Alexia still at the table, or did she leave?
Nope, she left. She went upstairs to prepare Leytrix room.
So Zach would say Alexia wanted to speak to Leytrix. Do you mind telling us where her room is so that me and Rolan could escort her there?
Oh, yes. She should be on the 2nd floor, the room at the far end. You'll see the painting on her door. She's an excellent artist.
Okay, so
number 13, right?
Yes, you're in room 13, my dear.
By this time, can we say that I've made it to room 13 and I'm standing outside and I just kind of straighten my shirt and get my hair ready and
you can hear the sound of running water inside. If somebody's in there, they don't seem to either hear you or.
Okay.
I check the handle.
Nope, it's completely locked at the moment.
I say, excuse me, is this room 13?
The rest of you are downstairs. Roland, you kind of get up, and Father Damas kind of misses you. He makes sure, Zach, that you have this paper, kind of letting you go. Says, I must retire myself, so go ahead, my friends, be on your way. With that, he kind of gathers up his bowl, and you can see he kind of exits out the side room, leaving a lot of you there. So as you kind of start to move up the stairwell towards us, you can see Eustis at this door 13, knocking on it.
Room 13, Leytrix, isn't that your room? It seems that Eustis is already here waiting for you.
Ha ha, very funny, I call down the hall. I just wanted to see if Alexia needed any assistance in this room.
But this is going to be my room. What the hell is wrong with you 3 this evening?
Well, okay, just out of game for a sec. Didn't the father say that Alexia was preparing Leytrix Laytrix's room.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I kind of knock again. And I say, Alexia, are you all right?
You can hear the padding of footsteps. This water kind of turn off, and the door kind of opens up. Says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to be up so soon. The lady's room is quite ready." She kind of motions towards you other fellows. You're on the 3rd floor, my gentlemen.
Rolan keeps heading up towards his room.
Yeah. And she... Okay, so Leytrix is going to kind of just squeeze her way through, get into the doorway, and be like, yep, so you're on the 3rd floor. Get stepping, fellas. And she closes the door with her and Alexa inside of it. Click.
I want to... Can I roll? Can I roll agility to stick my foot in the door?
Sure, you're going to go against Leytrix's agility.
Okay.
Can I aid Leytrix by like grabbing Eustis by the shoulder and be like, "Time to go, old timer. You've had a lot of wine tonight."
Sure, give yourself a Bane on top of that, then, Eustis.
Dang. What'd you roll?
Oh no, I blew up. You roll 20. It'll just be a second. Sometimes it happens.
So it's just going to be your agility score.
Yeah. No, I mean it closed on me, so I had to reopen it.
And Zach is doing this all like kind of naively. He doesn't even really realize that he's like he actually believes that Leytrix and Eustis have a thing.
You're like totally cock blocking him.
Yeah. Meta cock block.
Little do they know that she's not interested in any of you fools. Anyways, but
what's your agility score?
Oh, I don't know. I rolled it in there. What did it do?
Oh, nope, you don't need to roll it. It's just whatever your set score is of agility.
Oh, it's a 10.
So you got to beat a 10 with your agility.
I rolled a 10. Well, I was 14 minus 4. So
you're able just to, get your foot just in the door so it's open just a tiny little crack.
And I say, Alexia, how... what do you say I walk you back to your room?
Oh, well, that would be quite a dandy of you, Eustis. But I'm going to speak with the lady here. I'm quite curious about her elven heritage, and I'd like to maybe have a few words with her, if it's okay with her. And she kind of gives you that questionable glance, Leytrix.
Yeah, it's we're gonna have a history lesson. You have yourself a fantastic Eve lover, and he kind of gives him the eye.
I say, oh, I'd love to hear about the history of your homeland. And I kind of step into the door and close it behind me.
No, that ain't gonna happen. She looks at him and goes, "This is just not. It's not gonna be okay."
I say, perhaps we should let Alexia decide.
Hateful defecation.
Yes, go ahead and embarrass him at his opportune moment. Alexia just kind of looks at you, Leytrix. You can see she's almost sort of creeped out at this point. She's just kind of giving you that wondering sort of glare. I'm sorry, sir, Mr. Eustis. The ladies certainly need her privacy as the bath is drawing, and I'm going to prepare her gowns before I head to bed as well. Perhaps we can chat in the morning. She kind of starts to close the door a little bit.
Oh, with all due respect, Alexia, she is my mistress.
No, I'm not. And I push you dead in the chest, and
and it just closes the door.
Yeah, and it closes the door.
I'll just wait outside.
Zach looks at
Eustis
and is like, "Really, you and Leytrix? I just can't see it."
Because it's not happening, Zach.
I kind of grab him by the shirt for a second, pull him in close, and I'm like, listen up. Leytrix and I have nothing between us but friendship and sometimes hate.
Hey man, no judgment here. You don't need to defend yourself. If you love each other, you love each other. And then come on, you're being strange. I think you had too much wine.
No. I haven't had enough of Alexia, is what it is. And I just kind of start walking up to the room with Zach and explaining how, she's the fairest woman I've ever seen, and I've been around for a while, you see, and they're just kind of explaining, like, this is why, and that. Do you know our backstory, Zach?
Mine and yours?
No, like the three of us excluding you.
Oh, probably like not very much, if anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I just tell them that we often lie about our situation to deter any investigation into our whereabouts or happenstance.
Yeah.
It's like that's the weirdest way to try to infatuate a girl's attention I've ever heard of. Telling her that you're in love with another person. But maybe better luck next time, pal. Pat him on the back. I'm gonna go find Rolan and go to bed.
And as he's walking away, say, I'm using jealousy, boy. You'll learn it someday.
Yeah, hopefully not. I walk away.
Zach enter his room, and down the hallway, Rolan kind of enters into his, leaving Eustis standing here, looking at the door in front of him. Downstairs in this room, Alexia has this nice evening gown set out for you. Leytrix, the bath is drawn. She says, strange man. He's quite a persistent, isn't he?
Yeah, Eustis, he's something. But I tell you what he is, he's useful in a fight. So.
That's understandable. And what about your other friend there, the Roland? He seems like a fine young fellow.
He's a church boy of some sort.
I've corrupted a few church boys in my day. She gives a bit of a soft giggle, kind of covering her face. But perhaps we can speak. If you please, go ahead and, go take your bath and everything. I'll be down the hall if you would like to chat, but maybe not. Perhaps tomorrow if you don't have time. I was just curious about a little bit of your homeland, but I don't want to interfere with your time. I'm sure you're quite tired from the travels. So thank you again for joining us this evening, Leytrix.
And as she begins to walk away from her, she grabs her by the hand and says, "It would never be a bother." And it's very, very soft and very sweet. I truly have no interest in Eustis. I'm going to be very honest with you on that.
I could understand. He's a persistent fellow. He didn't quite seem your type.
No. And she, touches her hand again very softly again. And goes, "We can have that conversation now."
She says, "Oh, well."
And I would...
She kind of goes over to the bed and kind of sits down. You can kind of go through the doorway into the bathroom. She's clearly kind of making sure that she's out of sight of you the best she can before she takes a seat. And, begins to start asking you some questions. Upstairs, Eustis, you kind of left standing here. What do? You headed to bed?
I pull out my wand and I look at the clock on it and just kind of
wand.
Yeah. Yes. Pull out my wand and I look at the clock on it for a second. I just kind of. And I'll just kind of sit there as long as I have to, kind of thing. Every once in a while, I kind of fix my hair and stand up a little straighter against the wall.
Nice. So you probably stay in there for quite a while. Downstairs, you can hear the women conversing through the floorboards. Can't quite make out what they're saying, just that muffled voices. And with that, we will end it there for the night, because that'll be a nice stopping point before we dive into the whole mystery thing in the next session. So thank you again, fellas. I didn't get a chance to before, but if you haven't checked out Chris's page, he's over at the, what is it, Ginger Ninja Shish?
Yes, sir.
Over at YouTube. Check out the Storm King's Thunder campaign. Corey's in that. I'm in that. Clearly, I'm the most awesome of all, but I'll take all bragging rights for that.
I give
Yeah, whatever.
Thank you guys very much. Anybody who may have watched, and you guys have a good night.
Y'all